Attack the dance floor, dance floor, dance floor, dance floor, dance floor, dance floor, dance floor. Attack the dance floor, 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 dance floor. Attack the dance floor, dance floor, dance floor, dance floor. Attack the dance floor, dance floor, dance floor.
If we can't move on from things that broke us, if we crack us deep, baby, it's never for us. And when it all must be another night, if you said it's so please, just forget us. If we can't move on from things that broke us, if we crack us deep, baby, it's never for us. Saying we're all saying sometimes you feel as if no one's home. You know, but it's every so long. If we cry 'cause deep, baby, it's never for us. Part of her wash till she slowly sank. Part of first day, sitting in her own pain. Sometimes your feels like no one's home. Hidden by therapy, so alone. Starting to call again. If you can't go, things start rolling on. I can be bad if it's what you want from me. Tell me what you like, what's your fantasy? I can't sleep 'cause you're making me blush. I'm trying to move on, but you're on my mind, on repeat. Stop playing games I can never beat. Can't you see that you're making me blush? You're making me blush. You're making me blush. You're making me blush. Yeah, you're making me blush. You're making me. You're making me. You're making me. Making me. You're making me. Yeah, you're making me blush. You're making me blush. You're making me blush. You're making me blush. I can be bad if it's what you want from me. Tell me what you like, what's your fantasy? I can't sleep 'cause you're making me blush. Trying to move on, but you're on my mind, on repeat. Stop playing games I can never beat. Can't you see that you're making me blush? You're making me blush. You're making me blush. You're making me blush. You're making me. 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 What you want from me? Tell me what you like, what's your fantasy? I can't sleep 'cause you're making me blush. North, I'll crack your jaw. Heard I was killing shit. North, I'll crack your jaw. Oh shit. Heard I was killing shit. Kick it. Jen, are you ready?
What? Wait, where are we?
No, we're pre.
Are we live?
We're
Are
live.
we live right now?
We're live.
We're live?
Yeah,
Oh
just
my
do it live.
God.
Fuck it. Just do it live.
Still live?
Fuck it. We're gonna do it live.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, okay. James isn't gonna like it, but I guess we'll do it live.
James is just, I'm not even in the chat.
Right?
Exactly.
I was just watching the Knicks game, dude.
I'm like half-ass following the draft right now, so I'm just like,
Oh, so I was talking to Husby. He was on his way home, and I said, I was like, and Carl Anthony Towns just pushed the guy away from the other guy, and they gave him a 10 for that. That was just basically the New York way of saying, hiya, how you doing? How you doing? Like, that's what I was saying. I was like, how could they give him a technical for that? And he was just like, you were ridiculous. I think that was an exact quote.
I mean, we wouldn't have it any other way, Jen. Let's start the show. Where's my button? There it is.
Distance nerding.
Hey! My camera is terrible. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here. It is Thursday. It is that time of the week. There is a terrible glare on my face, and I can't get rid of it.
Oh yeah, it's really bad.
Really bad today.
It's like you're a ghost.
I know. I'll just hang out right here.
Ghost Phil.
I just hang out right here. Ladies and gentlemen, you are now watching The Build. It is Thursday. I am still currently building the Batmobile because I still haven't pieced out the pieces. So we're going to prolong this one.
And I am still Graveyard, and they mostly pot out at night.
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the prettier version of Graveyard. The beardless. This is what Graveyard looks like when the beard abandons him.
No, the beard is on my head because it's going to be summer and it migrates to my head.
Oh, it's being nice and it wants to keep you warm.
So Right. Well, it's also to keep the head from burning, and then this part of your face gets the sun, and so that way it's an even tan in the summer. But then when it starts getting cold, it wants to be around the face.
Gotcha.
That was way too long of an explanation for a bit. I apologize.
I love that Sacramento Deadpool said, "Oh, look, he's a Force Ghost."
He's a Force Ghost. I told him you looked like a ghost.
I know. Eric Ruiz in the chat saying, where's Tyler? Where's James? James doesn't like showing up on the Thursday show, so that's on him. He just wants to be a dad. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, before we jump into all the fun things that we're doing here, of course, to my flank right here, it is the Sacred Game Screen. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Jen from Frey Comics.
Trying to figure out what the fuck I'm doing. Okay. Hello. I'm gonna get rid of the chat. Okay, there we go. I was like trying to read the chat from the thing, and I was like, this is freaking me out. Okay. So yeah, hi everybody. I'm here on a Thursday.
I know, right?
It's so cool.
And of course, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your boy Young Phil. So let's get this started before we jump into all the fun that we have planned out for the show today. Ladies and gentlemen, this show is brought to you by the good folks over at Dubby. I had to go press the button. Ladies and gentlemen, Dubby is a brand of energy drinks created to help focus concentration reaction time with no jitters or crash. Dubby contains no maltodextrin, no sugars, no fillers, no artificial colors or dyes. Find out more about Dubby at www.dubby.gg. Use the code NERDING10 and get 10% off your order. Ladies and gentlemen, there's all kinds of stuff. They just came out with a ramen flavor.
What, really?
Yeah,
oh my god,
I'm so excited about that. I kind of want to get it. Just I'm like, what does a ramen energy drink taste like?
I'm confused, but okay. I'm just like, okay, whatever. No, I was gonna tell you. So, do you guys have Popeyes out there?
Yeah, we have Popeyes out here.
Okay. Did you see that they have a pickle menu now?
Yes, I did.
I was like, I should eat something pickle related.
I'm staying away because fuck pickles. Yeah. I know it's not a popular choice, like popular position, but I'm not a.
You were talking about pickles and positions. Naughty, naughty.
Yeah, all
dirty,
the positions.
dirty.
For everybody there. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump right into this. Jen, you have a copy of the interview, right?
I do.
All right. Just want to make sure you got it. So then that way we can do this. Ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, I was just going to, ask random questions like I always do.
That's the best way to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, this week's guest is a publisher, artist, writer, and musician, which means he is generally creative and not just passively creative. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show the president of the United Federation of Homebrewed Comics. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Chris Sahloff.
That was wow. That was an introduction right there.
I'm just gonna say hi. I don't know what else to say to that. So
I try to make them that way. Like I try to make them in a way where it's like, that's probably the best interview I've ever gotten, or the best best introduction I've ever gotten.
Yeah, that was something. So thank you.
No problem. I took a combination. I took something you actually wrote and combined it with all of that, right? So I was like, oh, this might be fun. The president of the Galactic Federation of Homebrewed Comics.
Wait,
thank
Galactic? Galactic?
It's something in one of his books.
Yes.
No, but Galactic it's got some intonations in it. Not United Federation.
Oh no, I said United Federation. Sorry, I said United Federation.
Okay, I was like Galactic. Wait a minute. Aren't we all
well, hello.
here?
Yeah, taken back a little bit.
Absolutely, Chris. How are you doing on this fine? I guess for you, evening in on a Thursday.
How do I sound to you guys? Because I've never used these headphones before, and on my end, it's really weird.
Yeah, you sound good.
Okay, cool.
You sound really good. Yeah.
Awesome. Everything's good. Yeah, actually, I spent most of today. I'm still packaging and getting some stuff ready for my last launch. I'm kind of doing a back-to-back ship and launch in the same week. It's been quite a year, so it's been busy getting things out. I flew last week to LA and I met Rob Liefeld for the Young Blood launch, and that was just amazing.
No way.
Yeah, actually, so we have a cover on issue 7 that was done by Mo Lubison. That's an homage to Young Blood #1, and we planned this well before this launch was even announced. And
Right.
so I'm getting ready to get on this plane to go, meet him. And I'm flying from North Carolina to California. I'm literally flying for a day just to go in there and get my books and, meet arguably like a huge inspiration and a huge person in independent comic books.
Right.
And here on my doorstep is my metal covers of, issue 7. So I'm like, well, if I'm going to meet the man that kind of inspired this, I'm going to bring one. And I gave him a metal cover, and it was really cool. I handed it to him. He's like, who printed this? And I told him, he's like, we use the same printer. So that made me feel really cool.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That is so cool.
Yes.
Was he on your achievements to unlock list? Meeting him?
Yeah, I met him when I was a little kid. I met all the Image guys when I was a little kid. And so, but I never really meant to get into making comics. I thought I sucked at drawing and writing and all this crazy stuff. So I never thought I'd be here. And then when I got here, I was like, well, I kind of got to meet the founders of what we do.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's awesome. So I think that's great. And that was not an actual question. I just was curious. It was.
I met Jim Lee last year too, or actually at New York Comic Con. I got escorted actually to meet him because I met one of his managers, and she worked with someone I knew. It was like a chance meeting all these people, and she comes over. She's like, well, I hear you want to meet Jim Lee, so come with me. She walks me right to the head of the line, and I'm just sitting there with Jim Lee. He's like, what do you have for me to sign? I'm like, can we take a selfie on my phone? And you sign my phone. So I have a picture of me and Jim Lee on my phone that he signed and drew a little picture. So technically this stylus right here was used by Jim Lee.
Oh, no.
That's
yay.
Yeah. So I can't get rid of this phone ever.
No. That would be sacrilegious.
Yes.
You got to keep the stylus.
Yep.
Oh, if it becomes something where it doesn't work anymore, just have it mounted and make it an art piece. And there you go. And you can have, there you go. That's it. I've solved all your problems. Thank you.
My kid has said that no matter what, she gets it after me. So even though she just got a brand new iPhone and my phone's much older, she still wants my phone when I get rid of it. She's like, nope, I'm keeping it because it's your favorite guy. She knows all my favorite artists and Jim Lee and Rob and all those guys. She knows all about Image Comics, and she's 14 years old.
Oh, that's awesome. See,
Yeah.
you're teaching them right.
Mm-hmm. That's
Yes.
good parenting. A+ parenting right there.
She's arguably a better artist than me. So
That's even cooler.
That is awesome. Okay, so a couple of things. North Carolina, yay. My best friend actually moved out there, and they just moved to a new house today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Where?
so Lenore, I think, is where they
I know where that
are.
is.
Yeah, okay. So, so I'm probably going to be visiting out there eventually once they
Not
get
too far
everything
from me,
settled.
actually.
Oh, cool. Well, hey, we'll connect and go to our favorite
Yeah.
comic shop together or something.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would be amazing. She is also an artist, but she does more sculpture than. So you guys actually probably have something in common. Okay. Anyway, back to you. This is not about me. This is about you.
Get it, Jen.
Yeah, I got it. Okay. So let's get into the first questions. So the first one is, if a movie was made based on your life, who would you want to play you?
Ooh. Well, Ben Stiller and Mark Wahlberg are a little bit too old now, unfortunately.
I love Ben Stiller, though. He's awesome.
I met Mark Wahlberg when I was a kid, and I jokingly said, I want you to play me in a movie. I was 10 years old. And I'm told I look like Ben Stiller.
Yeah, I totally want you to play me. I want you to play me.
I actually met him when he was Marky Mark.
Yes.
And the Funky Bunch. Yep.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
That
So I
makes-
wouldn't get hit in the face if I said Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. Then
no.
I'm
That
dating myself.
that made like it's funny. Like that made the joke 10 times better because I was gonna say Marky Mark. It was like, so you're gonna have Marky Mark play you, and then I like held back, and you did it yourself, so it's fine.
Oh yeah. Wow, that's a tough one.
Ooh, Paul Mescal might be good.
I'm not sure who he is.
He was in Gladiator 2. He was the young gladiator
Did
guy.
not see that. Did not see that.
I haven't seen it yet either.
I don't know what else to tell you. I think that's the only like
Yep.
big thing he's been in. I mean, he's been in a lot of stuff, but that's like the most recent one.
Yeah.
I mean, look, people they were half dressed and had abs, and so I was in. But I couldn't tell you what the story was about though. It was really awesome. No. Anyway, so I'm just
Whoa. Hold on.
I'm loving that music.
Dance break.
It's good. The only problem is that my mixer kind of like will mess with audio on its own sometimes because I dropped liquid on the on the Bluetooth fader.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we're
Um,
like 100% professional here. Still
You
trying.
know, I've been watching a lot of Stranger Things, and I really love Dustin, so that actor would totally nail it. I think.
Dustin.
Oh,
Yeah, he does serious and he does comedy, and
Yes.
he's got a good range. I think he'd be fun.
Gaten Matarazzo.
Yeah,
Mod-
actually, one of my
okay.
friends lives in the town. I guess they went. He knows one of his teachers, and like they live on the same road, or they grew up on the same road or something.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Okay, so we do have a segment called Growing Up Geeky.
Mhm.
What did you geek out on when you were a kid?
Quite a few things. My youngest, like geek out, would have been Thundercats or He-Man.
Yeah.
I used to run away from home to my aunt's house just to watch Thundercats with my uncle. And when my mom made me mad, I would tell her that she was a bone-faced mommy, just like Skeletor. So those are like my two. And then I got into Ninja Turtles. And then it was Star Wars.
Did you ever call your mom a boob?
No, no. But my mom was Catholic Italian from Italy and had no problem smacking me around whenever I mouthed off. So usually I would say, "You're a bone-faced mommy." Then I'd run out the back door and run away to my aunt's house. Because if she caught me, it was the end of everything.
Right.
But yeah, Star Wars for a really, really long time. And then I could go from there. But my youngest would be, in those realms. My first like comic book would have been Ninja Turtles. That was the first like comic book venture I got into. I still have the one my dad got me, the old black and white one where they had like just blood, and it was before like the old drawings.
Yeah.
And my first like superhero I ever got into was Batman. When I was 4, I had a Batman cake. I did Batman for Halloween.
There it is again.
Hey, I have my own theme music. We're cool. So
well, Batman
yeah.
tends to be a lot of people's gateway drug. So
I mean, he had the movie in '89, and I was born in
Yeah.
'83. So
you were right there in the pocket.
right. But I always loved the TV show growing up.
66 Batman.
Yeah.
Yep, watched it
Absolutely.
all the time. So
So that's actually my my growing up geeky. Yeah. My growing up.
I'm really loving the random music.
I know it's like I'm trying my hardest for it not to be a distraction, and it's like I'm gonna turn you off. That's what's gonna end up happening here. No, so that was my gateway drug was Batman. I talk about 89 Batman was a big deal for me. And my older brother had when the movie came out, he went and got the cowl, and it had like it was like the rubber cowl that had the cape attached to the back. So he ran around in that, and I was like a little 3-4-year-old kid popping that thing on and running around. My face was like in the whole mouth.
that's awesome.
And then I got into 66 Batman. Adam West was the big deal for me and everything like that. So like my gateway drug was that and my mom had a VHS of the Fleischer Superman cartoons.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's old school Superman right there.
Yeah.
But I also was a huge fan of the Batman of the 66 Batman TV show.
Yeah.
And like that's how I got into really superheroes. And I realized I could be a superhero too because Batgirl was in that. And then she later got in the comics, and I actually have a signed thing from Carmine Infantino, who actually drew her first in the comics. So a huge Batgirl fan, obviously a Wonder Woman fan if you look behind me at all.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, but I look more like Wonder Woman than I do Batgirl. So
Yeah. Well, there's different. I think they draw her a little bit differently every once in a while, and like I've always preferred the redhead.
Oh yeah, Barbara. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. That's the first Batgirl I ever knew, and then I loved the Teen Titans. That was the first comic. New Teen Titans in the 80s was the first comic that I got, and they had talked about Flamebird, and I found out she was actually the first Batgirl, and her and Batwoman were created because people were saying that Batman and Robin were lovers, and so I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. And then there've been like a bajillion Batgirls after that, so it's like, okay,
the Bat family is very diluted.
Yes, in more ways than one. All right. So you went from I think most everybody had loved the Thundercats and the Masters of the Universe and all that. And so, but you went like that cartoon, and those were very like superhero-y kind of cartoons as well, because it was like one guy and he's the one that saves everybody kind of thing, or the destined one kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true.
So I could see that. And then Star Wars the same. Okay, cool, awesome. Not that I'm psychoanalyzing you, I just thought that was a nice through story for that like little segment.
Do I pay per hour for this, just out of curiosity?
Only in stories. You only have to pay us in stories. That's it.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. So speaking of stories, so who were your like writing influences? Who as a writer influenced you or influences you today?
I am a massive fan of Drew Karpyshyn, and if anybody knows that reference, you're immediately my best friend.
It sounds familiar, but
he wrote the Darth Bane books for Star Wars, and he wrote the original couple games of Mass Effect, and I believe he had a hand in the Star Wars KOTOR games.
I love him.
Yeah, I was going to say, I am actually familiar with his work, because
I was like, his name sounded familiar. I've like played all the Mass Effect games and KOTOR. I played both KOTOR games, so I was like,
yeah, Mass Effect took the mantle from Star Wars for me when that came out, because Star Wars it started falling off a bit even before like the Disney movies and that stuff. It just wouldn't keep up. And Mass Effect comes out, and I'm like, it's like Star Wars with guns. And I found out that originally the mechanics were supposed to be used for another KOTOR game, and they wound up going a different direction. So, just fell in love with the series. And the Darth Bane series is still just one of my favorites. I love how he writes. And so I would say writing, he's probably one of my biggest inspirations. I love how he writes characters, very character-centric. Character-driven narratives that also flesh out a world around you. So while you never lose focus of the character there, you always feel like he's part of this bigger thing. The interactions, the way that he always wrote, like the interaction between him and his I guess Padawan or whatever you want to call her in the book. It was just always unique. I don't want to use that term anymore. It's been tainted. But just like the writing was just from the first book, it just had me. And then same with the Mass Effect series. I read all his books that he did for Mass Effect as well, and his books were always the best. So, and then Chris Claremont, as a kid getting in on 90s X-Men, loved that. Again, knew how to write not just one character but a team of characters and
Right.
help you build in, like, get invested in those characters, not just like, I love 90s comics for the fact that you see a bunch of beat 'em up, have fun, action flicks in 22 pages. But when you can write a story where there's not even one fist thrown and you still feel like that feeling of action just through the dialogue, Chris Claremont's really good at that. And I found out that originally he went to school to write movies and was in between trying to find a gig writing a movie and wound up just writing comics. So that's one of the reasons why his comics always feel so well written, is he has a cinematic approach to writing.
Yeah. I
Right.
mean, and he wrote the big issues, but he made them, they were big stories. The issues were big, but he wrote them in small ways. So like how they affected each character, like who was having the issue. It started out small and it got bigger. I mean, some of the greatest X-Men stories he wrote, and God Loves Man Kills is probably one of my favorite X-Men stories, and that's such a huge issue, and the way he did it was so private and vulnerable.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that entire sentiment, that some of the best X-Men stories that were ever written were Chris Claremont.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
100%.
So right now we're all best friends. Let's see what happens. All right, so okay, home brewed comics. I assume that's just kind of, it sounds like a cross between like Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder and like a comic book.
I mean, that's it.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. So up until January, my company name was Homebrewed Heroes, and we rebranded, expanded, and I got an entire team of partners with me now. So when we did that, the idea of rebranding had come about last year, but I was sitting with my dad at Thanksgiving, and my dad arguably is why I'm in comics. He's a big advocate for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And we were sitting down. Also, my dad's a phenomenal artist. And he's like, you need to really rebrand this Homebrewed Heroes thing. You don't even use the heroes. Everybody knows you as Homebrewed Comics. If I Google Homebrewed Comics, I get more than I get for Homebrewed Heroes. Like, you're sitting on your ass here. You don't even know what you're doing. And he just kind of like gave me this very small lecture. Love him to death. I hope he watches this on his way to work. And
I hope he watched this on his way to work.
Yeah. He works third shift, so I'll talk shit all night. But my dad's one of my best friends, and he can be my biggest critic. He can be my biggest advocate. And so he's like, and you got to do something with the logo. Like the logo's good, but if you're going to call yourself, Homebrewed Comics, so we sat there just at the table at Thanksgiving. I grabbed my tablet and we're drawing the logo out, and we get this idea together. And I know a guy who does like some vector work, so I shot him the drawing my dad and I did, and I said, hey, do something with this, make it pop. And that was done. And at that same time, Drew from Snowy Works, who does Caspian Porter and a slew of other titles that man works on, him and I had just been in talks about merging the companies because we were both getting burned out in our own avenues and really felt like we were just alone in the world of comics, and it was really starting to just like tear us down. So we had already planned some of that, and I called him up and said, hey, what do you think of this? And it just kind of like grew legs. We started working on a few things, and yeah, so the root of Homebrewed Comics is because Crit, my title that I draw, I write everything, is based on a homebrewed Dungeons and Dragons campaign that I created.
Right.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so then then Crit came first and the comic came second.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. All right, I just want to make sure I understood because I'm like, okay. My son, who's also a host sometimes, Shadu, he is a huge Dungeons and Dragons fan and he'll do his own home brews. Actually, I think most of the stuff is home brews for him, and we play a game like my husband and I and him play. Do have like a little sessions and stuff, and so it's fun. So I actually do know a little bit about it, not a lot, but I do know.
You know enough to be dangerous.
Yeah.
I'm always dangerous, whether I know anything about it or not. So okay, so let's talk about Crit though. So that's the title you do,
Mhm.
and was that where it started or?
Yeah. Constantly running into trouble. So my friends and I started playing this. Well, to go back in 2010 through 2012, we played a homebrewed Mass Effect game, which is better than the third game by far. And yeah, might be biased, but I'm just going to say that I one shot an entire big boss by myself because my character was awesome. But
awesome.
So we did this whole story, and we, like I said, we played for 2 years consecutively. Every Sunday it was pizza and D&D, and we all, that was 2010 to 2012. Then we all started getting our own lives, moving around, married, kids, all that stuff. You become an adult, and life kind of takes form. Mm-hmm. Well, we talked about doing a superhero campaign, and we couldn't balance it. Like we tried a few times, it would get off the ground a little bit, and then it's like, well, it's not balanced. And I was playing Spider-Man on PS4, and it just dawned on me as I'm leveling up my character. I'm like, everybody has the same Spider-Man, but mine's probably different because I leveled him up this way, and I use this armor. You know what I mean? And it just like, it got the gears rolling. I'm like, well, wait a minute. I could do this in D&D. We just take the classes and we go level by level and change out some of the abilities. And you strip down the world to where there's no other people with these powers, and all of a sudden your paladin is now a superhero, or your rogue is, if it's the only one in the world that can teleport and do things, well, you've got a superhero. And I ran that up the ladder to my friends, and mind you, some of us hadn't played D&D with each other or talked to each other in close to 10 years, and they loved it. I got everybody back on board. I just got the gang back together, and we started playing once a month, and we did that for 5 years. We're still playing. It's not as frequent right now because everyone's life kind of hit a little chaos button the past few months, but we're still playing. We're playing a new campaign. Crit finished up about a year and a half ago. And yeah, so like all those characters that you read in my comic book, everything you read happened at the table. Every decision was rolled with the dice. Every punch, every shot of a gun, everything that lands is part of that game. The dialogue is pre-recorded. I record every session, and then I storyboard it out. In fact, I taught myself how to draw to do this comic. I had no idea what I was doing when I first started.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
ladies and gentlemen, the powers of ADHD at work.
Right.
And COVID.
COVID.
Yeah. So, it was a journey. I just started. We played the game, and the comic wasn't supposed to be a thing. It never was. It was never even on my radar to draw comics. But we kept talking about this first session, and it was so much fun. So I sat there and I started. I had a drawing tablet from work because I used to. This is my old work shirt. I used to have to crawl in everyone's crawl space and literally map out someone's home from underneath. So I had this tablet that had drawing software on it. And I mean, I always doodled. I drew, but not as a hobby. It was more of like, I'm bored, I'm going to sketch this little thing out.
Right.
Well, I started taking my action figures and posing them like what I saw in my memory from the game. And I started just using them as a reference. Mind you, my kid is phenomenal, and she could literally look a picture look at a picture of you today, and in 10 days from now, draw exactly what she sees.
That's
So,
awesome.
and my ex-wife at the time is a phenomenal artist, and my mother-in-law is an art teacher. So I'm in this house during COVID with 3 artists, and I'm drawing, and I'm getting critiqued, and I'm drawing, and I'm getting critiqued, and I thought I drew something that was amazing, and my ex-wife looked at me and was like, it's okay. And that just, mind you, her and I were friends for like 10 years prior to this. So it just like lit a fire under me. I'm like, nah, it can't just be okay. So I go out the next day, I spend like $1,000 on an iPad and get all the software. And I was like, all right, we're going to upgrade this, and I'm going to get the best drawing software I can, and we're going to take it again. And every page I drew for the issue, she would erase lines or cross things out. My kid would come in and say, well, that leg doesn't look right. Or my mother-in-law would be like, well, that's weird. And I took it all with stride. Like I knew I wasn't like a master at this, and they were better. So I said, well, teach me. And so over the course of about 4 issues, that's how it went, was people would erase my work and circle things and cross things out. And then right around the 5th issue, my kid was, I can't help you anymore. And my ex-wife was like, I don't think you need my help anymore. So that's when I partnered up with, you'll see in the credits, Robert Nix is my new editor, because he's a phenomenal comic book artist. And he rips apart my stuff and tells me how bad I am. And eventually, I'm sure he'll reference me to someone else that can tell me how terrible I am. And that's just what I like to see. I don't like yes people in my life. So I just constantly challenged myself to become better, because like I said, this wasn't supposed to be a thing. And when I drew the first book, I didn't know how to color. I'd spent all this time on line art. And one of the guys in my group, he's a big Kickstarter fan, loves like getting all the D&D games off Kickstarter. So he's like, well, why don't you just put it on Kickstarter and people will, give you money to get it colored? And I was like, so you're essentially saying put it up there and they will come, like, Wayne's World moment. And he's like, yeah, pretty much. Had no idea what I was doing. We had no Instagram. We had no promotions whatsoever. And I researched things, but I like half-ass research this. And I was like, oh, so, get on Kickstarter. You usually need a goal about $2,000. I didn't need $2,000, but the colorist that I found really only wanted about $500 to finish this book up. And because I had done like a lot of flat coloring myself, and she was just going to do some of the layers for me. And so I get on there, and again, no Instagram, no promotions, no nothing. During the course of it, I wound up making an Instagram and promoting and doing these things. But we got, I think, right at like 30 backers and about $750. So more than what I actually needed. But I didn't realize that if you didn't fund, that you didn't get the money. So wound up not funding, again, purely because I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
If I had done it right and just asked for $500, we would have gotten the money and everything would have been fine.
Right.
I wasn't bummed. I was like, whatever, it didn't work. We'll figure it out. And like within a couple days, a buddy of mine messages me on Facebook and he says, what is this comic book thing you're doing? And I'm like, well, it's just like this thing I'm trying to mess around with. And he goes, how much money do you need? I'm like, well, really only need about $500. He's like, that's it? I'm like, yeah. Now this guy, he's independently wealthy. He got into marijuana fields really early. So he has he's like, I'm sitting on a private jet. Let me just send. So he sends me money on Facebook. I have no clue that you could even do that. I just get a notification. He just sent me $500. So I'm like, well, heck yeah.
You got money.
Right. So I make the book, and then I put it for sale I make a website, and I do all this stuff because my background was web design. I'm like, screw it, make a website. We'll do all this stuff. And I just put like a form on there for people to purchase it. Well, I sold like 100 copies on the website. So now I had money for printing. I had all this other stuff. And I go to the backers on Kickstarter and I said, hey, like, you're all getting a free book. You believed in something when I didn't even know how to promote it,
Right.
That's cool.
And so I sent about 30 free copies out to all these backers. And after that, I was like, cool, I'm done. And then everyone's like, well, where's issue 2? And I'm like, oh crap, now I got to draw another one.
Issue 2? You're supposed to make another one?
What do you mean? Like, everyone only collects issue 1, and then that goes on a shelf and we never hear from you again, so then it just became an issue 2, and then I get involved with the community, and now I'm on issue 8 or not,
Right.
really issue 9, because I have an issue 0, and so now we're 5 years in and 9 issues in, and it's just this snowball effect of I was bored. And I feel bad for some of my friends because, they went from just playing D&D, and now I call them. I'm like, hey, you have to edit this. You have to help me write this thing. How does this look? And I'm sending them pages, and I'm like, guys, I need to know, like, there's people that want to read this book. What do you think? And I mean, I probably annoy the crap out of them, but at the end of the day, they get to see their characters and what they do come to life. And I know they like that.
Right.
Their kids, there's a couple guys in the group that have kids, and their kids get to see them be superheroes. Our friends,
cool.
like one of my guys, he plays D&D in another group, and one day he brought the comic and was like, look at my other campaign. This is what my DM does over there. What are you going to do?
He's like pitting you up against each other just so he can get the other DM to like step up his game.
Yeah, like, you need to make a movie, bro. What are you doing? So just being able to see my friends come to life on paper is a lot of fun. And there's been some really cool stuff. Like, we get fan art and things, and one of my guys was going through a really hard time, and he messages me one day and he's like, man, I was having a really bad day, and you threw some fan art of my character in there. He's like, I just think it's so cool that people don't even know me, but like my character and like all that. And he's like, my day just got better. So, to be able to offer something like that to my friends is really cool.
Yeah. No, that is cool. Like that's really cool to be able to like say that and say like, yeah, hey, here's a character that nobody knows anything. Like they don't know it's based on a real person,
right?
And that person can get like you're having a shitty day and just know that people like your character enough to draw fan art about it. It does more for that person than the person drawing it knows. Yeah, absolutely does.
It's just really cool. I love the concept, and that it came from it really came from a home brew. I mean, if you think about it.
Yeah, and
but,
that's what really kind of got me really interested in this once I started doing the research was, dude, this was a D&D campaign. Well, like not D&D, but I mean, like, it was a tabletop campaign that turned into, oh, well, let me record this, and now it's a comic book. And it's like, just there's something so inherently creative about that. Because like my first thought when they came out with Dungeons and Dragons Honor Amongst Thieves, the movie, I was like, I wonder if when they were writing the script, all it was just them doing a D&D campaign and writing it down.
Well, yeah, John Daly's like a huge D&D guy, so I assume that they probably kind of storyboarded it through a D&D campaign. I would assume
that would be the smartest way to do it.
I mean, you've got the foundation, and what I like about using D&D for storytelling is it's very organic, and nothing really feels like forced. Like everything kind of like it's the decision of the dice. Like like things don't always happen the way you want. And I remember reading a review for Crit Number 1, and in the review, the reviewer was like, it starts off as your average superhero book, and at the end, it just like gut punches you because you're like, oh, they almost all died, and that's really because for me, it was technically our second session, and I was trying to gauge as a DM, like how overpowered I made these characters. So they were arguably like level 2 characters going up against the CR10, and for those of you that don't know, that's way too overpowered. Like I almost team killed them until one of my characters was like, oh, I have this minion that keeps me alive. And I'm like, oh crap. So, and
I thought you were going to say somebody rolled a nat 1 and just fucked everything.
Oh no, there was many nat 1s rolled, and you'll see that if you read issue 1 at the very end, like they get the crap beat out of them, and like so bad. One of them, the last page is him like in a hospital bed, like they think he's going to die, And I will say I did play DM powers on this because we had spent so much time building and rebuilding this one character. And if you've ever DM'd a campaign and had that guy that's like, well, I wanted to do this. No, I think I wanted to do, and you spend like a whole day. And so we get to the end and I almost killed him. And arguably, like, he should have probably died. And we were like, I spent way too much time on this dude. Like, Brad, I'm sorry, but no, you're gonna live. Like, I'm pulling I'm pulling the DM card on this one. You live. Some miraculous thing. You end up in the hospital. I started rolling to see if I could actually like justify it. And I'm like, oh, yep, percentage dice. You win. You cannot kill this character the first game. And he was so mad. And then later on, he's like, I'm glad you didn't kill me off because I wound up really loving the build and I've had a lot of fun. And so, but there was a valid argument in there. And I'm like, well, we need to figure this out. So at the end of the book, you actually see him struggling and they're trying to figure out how to like keep him alive because his character is immune to anything magical, which means he also can't get help from, magical potions or like anything like that. And It isn't a modern world, but we have a tech character who manipulates, magical abilities into turning things into like healing potions. But they're like, oh yeah, he can't even benefit from this. Like, what's wrong with him? And they're like, well, we don't know. Like, because it's supposed to be a mystery at that point. Like, you don't know why this character can't get help. And we slowly give that away, that his powers are he's essentially the opposite of going to Disney. He doesn't believe in magic at all. It's actually a joke. One of the characters says, he's like, you don't believe in magic at all. Like, you can't go to Disneyland.
Spoiler, he has space aids.
But when I start building the game, he's like, have you ever played Warhammer? And I love Warhammer, don't get me wrong. But I never really played. He's like, I want to be a gnoll from Warhammer. And I'm like, how the hell do I make that work in a 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons build? And so you see a lot of like that stuff where I just get frustrated as a DM and I throw like really tough things at them and almost kill them. And it's a lot of fun, When people ask me, what do you do in the book? I'm like, I actively try to kill my friends.
Right. Yeah. Like you do.
Listen, I love just like the level of creativity in this and just kind of like mashing of different tabletop games in order to get kind of the story that you have here. I think that is in just a genius way to do this and get this kind of story out of everybody. Because I mean, in the end, that's really what playing D&D is. It's just it is storytelling on the fly.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And acting.
It's improv. It's
yeah, that's what it is. It's really good improv.
It's improv with accessories, really.
Yeah.
When people see my credits list, they're like, you have this many writers? I'm like, well, they write their own character. Like, I'm not sitting here writing them. They did that, and there's some dialogue that people are like, that, I've had editors like, I could edit this for him. You can't, because he talks that way. Like when he says something that's wrong grammatically, he says it. Like, you meet my friends and you're like, but that's how he speaks, like he'll say stuff like that because he thinks it's right. We've even argued with him a couple times, like, no, we should say it this way. Well, that's how I say it. Okay, fair enough. Like, that's your character, and no one can take that away. And one of the things I hear a lot, like the feedback is like, your characters are individual. They're very unique. Their personalities stand out. And that's not, I mean, arguably, like, I put everything together, but it's not because I'm a great writer and I can write, 5 or 6 different characters that are just so unique. It's not funny. It's because every one of them is based off their personality.
Right.
And I know my friends well enough to when I'm drawing them, I draw their personality in them. Like, one of them's very expressive, one's very laid back and just chill. And they even give me feedback like, you really capture the fact that I use my hands to talk a lot. Yep, I do, because I've known you for 15 years. And when you're talking, it's always very with his hands.
Very hands.
Mastication. He did what now?
And on top of it, like Boulder, for instance, Boulder always makes these faces. And then he's one of my best friends, Terrell. We used to live together, and so I know how his face would be when something's said, and so I can kind of like draw that expression. And that's where like my writing is like in the character descriptions and how they move and how they act and those things, um, because they are my best friends and I want them all to be seen the way they are, and I want like when people read the book, if they like that character, you would like him in real life because that's just who he is. um, Except the talking cat. I don't have one of those. I have a cat. He doesn't talk to me though. He is an asshole, but he doesn't drink rum and smoke cigars like Samedi in the book
That you
Oh
know
god.
of.
that I know of. I mean, when I go to sleep, he might have a stash of stogies. Who knows?
You don't know. You don't know. They, they leave us. You know, there are times when the dogs aren't with us, and I'm like, they're planning something. I know it. So
My cat's around here somewhere. He's probably taking notes. Like I'm gonna get this.
yeah.
Now, like, given on that with these characters and kind of them being based in a world that you're creating, what inspires you to, aside from your friends? Obviously, you know, you're taking inspiration from your friends, but like, kind of what helps inspire kind of like the character design for all the characters themselves? So, like, when you
Well,
decide to make a cat that has a, you know, his face looks like, you know, like a mask, like that character.
so originally the idea of Samedi was he was supposed to be a spirit.
Okay.
And because it was taking place in New Orleans, we went with, Baron Samedi. And the original idea for this was he was actually trapped in a sword. And Spectre, the character that summons him, used to carry around this freaking broadsword. And he would throw that thing at people. And I'm like, you have a strength score of 12, dude. You can't throw a broadsword. And he would argue. And so he would throw it and he would take the negatives. And then he's like trying to force pull this thing back to him. And, this was early on before we had like a really solid story. We were like kind of like play testing some of the characters. And I argued with him over and over again about this sword. And it just became a point where he got so annoying to me that I took the idea of Samedi and I spelled it differently. It's not S-A, it's S-E, because a cat would totally spell it wrong to F with you,
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And then I made it a cat because in real life, Austin's allergic to cats. And I said, well, this is how I balance this almost deity style character that you want to call upon because you're allergic to him. And if he's out too much, you'll take negatives, like you'll get, weakness points against it, and you'll take negatives on your throws and all these things. And he fought me a little bit, and finally he's a DM in another game. He's like, fine, we'll go with it. He's like, I like the cat idea. That's cool. And so when I went to draw him, I had to draw him similar to what Baron Samedi looks like, with a top hat and the skull face, but it's supposed to be like a fur, like his fur just takes that look.
Right.
Oh,
And
awesome.
then of course, because Baron Samedi in lore drinks and smokes cigars, so I'm like, this cat, and we go into it later on, but he's essentially just a spiritual being that takes the form of a cat. Like that's his chosen form. And probably because he loves to mess with people and he's a trickster, and so in my own lore in my head for this cat, over the thousands of years he's been around, he's learned about this lore that people have created in New Orleans and was like, yeah, I kind of like this dude and he smokes cigars, cool, I'm going to take that up too. And why not, I'll drink, I'm tired of crap from humans. And so that's kind of how I made his personality. And a lot of my inspiration for Samedi came from, I'm a huge Alice in Wonderland fan. So
Also, the Cheshire
I took Cheshire Cat with, the worm, because he speaks in like riddles and things, and the Mad Hatter. Like I just kind of like mashed all of them together. And you can't have a cat with a hat on and not have some kind of rhythmic speech without saying cat in the hat kind of thing.
Right.
And everything he says is in rhyme. Like he rhymes everything. unless he doesn't, and then you're like, oh, you don't have to do that all the time. And I think in either 3 or 4, he says, no, I don't. I just do that to mess with you. And he does have a fear for vacuums. In issue 7, there's a robot character that shows up, Dr. Roombato, and it's a Roomba with a little robot on top, and the cat freaks out, and he's like, nah, I'm out. And then he has a whole entire like monologue about how he hates vacuums. And it's arguably one of my favorite pages in the entire book. It's at some point I may actually have to pull the PDF up or grab a book and just read it to you. But there's a dialogue in it where he rhymes about, and we sat there when we were lettering it, because this arguably that part didn't really happen in the game. Like it did and it didn't. But we don't write the rhymes in game. That's something we do when we're lettering the book. And as I'm drawing this, I said, guys, we need to start working on like a rhyme for him hating this vacuum. And we get into lettering it, and we had this rhyme ready, and it was just beautiful how it played out. And Spectre, his human companion, is like, I get it, you hate vacuums, like they're your kryptonite. It's cool, cat. Like just hang out with me, And so like I as soon as I introduced the vacuum character, I said to everybody in game, I'm like, and Samedi will actively avoid this character at all cost. Like he hates the robot.
That is absolutely awesome. Genius.
And also very realistic. So I think that's great. I mean, that it's a comic that was based on a homebrew D&D game with your friends, and then there's this wacky cat, which I'm all for wacky animals in D&D games. It's like my favorite thing. And yeah, so I mean, it's so cool, and it's so grounded, and it's very in right now because Stranger Things.
Mm-hmm. Oh so. Yeah, we have 3 animals now. We have the cat. We also have a British pompous owl that wears a vest and has a monocle.
Yes.
Schoolhouse Rock. Well, also his name is Archimedes because if you've ever seen the cartoons, I'm a huge like Disney fan from when I was a kid.
Yeah, we're all Disney nerds around here too.
Yeah,
I have the Cheshire Cat tattooed on my calf, like this massive Cheshire Cat.
I used to be Jay at one point in my life, actually in North Carolina.
Nice.
I played mostly around like Wilmington and in Fayetteville and stuff like that. I was in the Army, and I like moonlighted as DJ. And my character on stage was the Cheshire Cat. So I wore a Cheshire Cat candy mask. And then this guy, who is still in the box, this guy.
He recently moved.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This guy used to hang out on top of my table.
I think I still have mine somewhere too.
Yeah.
I just recently moved, but the Cheshire Cat was like my jam as a kid. Still is. I have a lunch box. I have a whole bunch of stuff. I've actually been to like a Cheshire Cat like smoke bar in Asheville, North Carolina, and I don't even smoke, but I went there because I was like, it's Cheshire Cat.
Yeah.
Got to.
But yeah, the Archimedes is a mix of the Schoolhouse Rock owl and Archimedes from Sword and Stone. And of course, he does not drink coffee, and they work in a coffee shop. He's only tea. And he is very British, and I love it. And then we have the token chameleon, who his whole entire personality is actually based off of the turtle from Finding Nemo. Just really laid back and chill, and just wants everything to flow right. But he also is very scared by the vacuum. So
he's like the character from the character in Call of Duty right now.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah, there's a chameleon character running around in Call of Duty right now.
I had a pet chameleon at one point, and she was another bitch. So I really wanted her to have this personality of being chill and cool. So I was hoping to, like, if I drew this character and made it a thing, like she would take on this personality. That never happened. She was still evil and, whatever. But in my head, we have a cool talking chameleon who wears a beanie and just absolutely loves like helping out. He always gets in trouble because he's helping out, and they're like, "You can't do that. OSHA's, FEMA's gonna have a problem with it, or whoever." I can't think of.
I was like, "Whoa!" And they're like, "Whoa!"
There's when he's first introduced, like, well, there's an issue 6. They're all working in this like mobile coffee shop, and they're like, dude, PETA's gonna come after us because the animals. And Spectre's like, what are you talking about? And it looks over and it's like he's on the straw, like just holding onto the straw, like, what? I'm trying to help. Like, we have business to attend to, guys. Like, we need to make money so you can feed me. So I'm over here trying to earn my way.
I'm trying to make sure they get the coffee, bro.
Yep. I'm just trying over here, man. Just trying to be chill.
Dude, just be chill, all right, bro? We'll be okay.
Okay. So, hey, let's ask another question. Okay, so you've been publishing this book for 5 years, you said.
Yes, as of this year.
As of this year. Like, what have you found is the most rewarding part of the story? Like, what element would you say?
Oh, wow. Just seeing people get into what we do. It's one thing to like write a story and have people gravitate to something that you maybe poured your heart and soul into, and people like it. To me, it's like people like me and my friends just being idiots. And that's really cool because, like, I think, D&D players, not people that stream their D&D campaigns, but people that play it because it's your way to hang out with your friends, right? Like that.
Right.
To me, it's an intimate setting. People have asked me, why don't you stream your game sessions? And I'm like, well, it's a very intimate thing because you're role playing, and my guys aren't professional actors. They really try to like get into this character of like, how would this character do this? And like, so you have that. And also it's really like our once a month time just to hang out as friends.
Right.
And it's a very raw experience. And so for people to read it and then want to continue reading it and then ask me questions, like, hey, I noticed this, what does this lead to? So when people really get invested in something that to us is like near and dear, like those characters are really my friends. Like the whole premise when I started this was like, you are you, but you went to work and got into an accident and now you have superpowers. What do you do?
Yeah.
Like you're in this situation and you have these abilities. What do you do? And when people gravitate to that and they like it and they come back book after book, or they ask me questions about the next book, that is very rewarding and just like hits me hard. I will mention the coupon. Yes, Dan.
I just shout out to Dan Price. I was gonna say, like, I imagine somebody goes up and is like, so what's gonna happen in the next story? I don't know. We haven't played yet.
We have. So everything is done 100%. We have all 42 issues written. I haven't recorded. Where it's just a matter of me getting them done, and I'm not a paid comic book artist, so right. I got to work a full-time job, and I do plan on living a little bit. So,
as do we all. I mean, we're not paid for podcasting, so we work our regular.
Right. It's indie comics. Now I would love to be able to grow this a little bit, and hopefully, I do save on money because I draw it myself, but I do have a colorist and cover artist, and I like to take care of all those people. But I'd love to be able to fund to a point where I can pay someone to do a book or two and take some of that weight off of my shoulders, so we can have multiple issues. Because right now, it's been tough just the last couple of years with doing multiple issues, especially the more invested I get in being a better artist. It's like harder because it's like, well, now it's not as easy as it used to, because now I'm doing more and more detail and my art's getting better. But if your art gets better, you spend more time drawing it, and that becomes a thing. But I'd love to be able to get multiple books out a year. So hopefully we can grow, and I can hire my buddy Robert to do a book that makes me look like garbage, and then I can tell him, hey, you need to fix this. But we're not there yet. Hopefully in the next year or so, that's my goal, is to grow to where I can find another artist to do a book.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love it. I love comics. So, yay, you're in the right place. Okay. So, there are other books though on homebrew comics, right? Like you've
Yes.
got Caspian
Perfect
Porter.
segue for the coupon comment.
Oh,
Yes.
I'm really good at that apparently. So go for it.
Perfect. Dan
We
will
have-
be happy.
We have coupons.
So, yeah, we're actually homebrewed comics. We have Crit, which I've spent quite a while talking your ears off about. So definitely go check out homebrewedcomics.com. Issue 0 is a free download. That's my plug. We have Dan Price, who I believe was on here last week,
Right.
and he has Bigfoot Knows Karate. And we also have Drew from Snowy Works, who does Caspian Porter. And we have Tin Can, which is another book that comes from the Snowy Works family. He'll be bringing in more as we go, but those are the two main titles we're working on right now. And we also have Dennis Valencia, who brought in Celestial Night. So we have a wide variety of stories to choose from. Like mine is this tongue-in-cheek. Like if I describe Crit to anyone, it's My Hero Academia meets The Other Guys meets Police Academy. Okay, it's tongue-in-cheek. It's very it's. I literally, in the book I'm shipping right now, at the very end, we apologize for how memey that book. Every page is a meme. There's jokes on jokes on jokes. It's meant to be a funny, fun story. And Dan Price with Bigfoot Knows Karate, you've got this, artistically, it's very like welcoming. And then you find out there's this huge world and cryptids fighting cryptids and this like underground society of things. And it's like layer on layer. So his is like this action adventure comic with, like Corpia, Espia, like it's so much crazy stuff going on in there. I don't want to give up too much.
Yeah,
of Dan.
and Benny's just beating the shit out of everybody.
Right.
That's great.
I mean, it's literally called Bigfoot Knows Karate. It doesn't get any more direct in your face than that. But then we have Caspian Porter, which is like your sci-fi story about, this dude who just really sucks at his job and then winds up, on these different space adventures, spelunking around the galaxy, arguably screwing things up. He's a Han Solo style.
I was gonna say he's Han Solo if Han Solo was more of a fuck up.
He's Han Solo, and I hope Drew's okay with me using this, but Fifth Element, John,
Yes.
Bruce Willis's character. It's like Bruce Willis's character from Fifth Element mixed with Han Solo.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
You know,
That's a very good description.
so you have that, and then Celestial Knight is like our cape. He's a cape character. He's, all powerful. He gets these celestial powers bestowed upon him, and him and his, his dog are out there, fighting kaijus and other things. Now his dog's not really fighting him, but his dog's like cheering him on. But
Right.
Issue one
Barking
of
a lot,
well, actually, he talks. So
Oh,
it
does
is
he?
another
Oh.
talking animal in our. And yeah, we found out that we all have talking animals, except Caspian has a talking robot, and I'm like, well, then we're still on good terms because I have a talking robot. I have multiples. We have Dr. Rumbato, who is the most happy robot in the world until he finds out his only purpose in life is serving coffee. And then we have the fist drone, which only talks in emojis. So,
Oh,
and then in Caspian, we just have like this wide variety to choose from. So you have sci-fi, you have traditional superhero, you have Saturday morning cartoons, and you've got cryptids fighting cryptids. And I know you can do a lot with Bigfoot, but Bigfoot Knows Karate, I think, is just such a self-explanatory title that I was very jealous of Dan when I heard it. I was like, God, it's a play on words. It just sounds amazing and tells you everything you need to know right there.
it just brings images into your mind. Like as soon as you hear Bigfoot Knows Karate, I mean, my mind goes to Hong Kong Phooey.
I mean, yes.
Yeah. So
I don't think I've ever used that with Dan, and I hope he doesn't mind. But I agree with you on that one. But with all these titles
he was
we have,
the number one super guy.
He was.
So it's a compliment.
So April 30th, we're launching my campaign, and let me get the dates right because I have not been in front of my computer today and my brain's fried. So April 30th, Crit number 8 launches on Kickstarter. We're kicking off the season. Number 1 super guy with Crit, He Who Would Be King. The title of the book kind of gives away where I'm going with it. And so Crit is an Arthurian tale. I bring that in with the 8th issue. It's not a bait and switch, I promise. King Arthur really is a big deal.
I assume Sean Connery's in it.
I can't give that much away. Plus, I don't want to get sued, but
Okay.
his likeness at some point.
There's a story with me in it.
He retired from acting, so now he's doing comic books. No one knows yet. So I kick it off, and then we go into Bigfoot Knows Karate, which is May 14th, launching that. And then right after that, June 21st, is our first crossover. It's Caspian Porter versus Celestial Knight.
Oh, wow.
Let's just say it's an Amazon delivery gone wrong in that book. And so we have these back-to-back campaigns, and this is our first year combining forces on our books. And so Dan, I will give him credit for this. This is his baby, and I love it. We're all fans of 90s comics. I just told you about my, running I literally flew to California for a day to meet Rob Liefeld. So what we're doing to get everyone invested in all the books, we have a coupon that comes with every title. It's for Homebrewed Zero.
Oh, that's right. Dan was
Yeah.
talking about this last week, but no. Explain it again, just because it's such a cool concept.
So every Kickstarter has, their issue will ship with their own coupon. It has a 3-digit code, and so you collect all 3. And at the end, when we're planning to ship these books all at the same time. When these books ship, you'll get, all 3 parts of the code. You go to our website, and we just programmed this. Issue 0 will be listed on our website at $1,000. You put the coupon in, and it goes to the actual price because you can't get it for the correct price without the code. So you'll get the book, and that hope we're nailing down the ship date for that still, because we still have to finish our books and then work on issue 0. But issue 0 will be exclusive content for that book. It will be we're not going to pull stuff from our other books. We're actually all doing, there's 4 stories. There's one from, actually, there's going to be 5. Sorry. There's all 4 of us are contributing. So my story is going to be all the animals in the coffee shop, and like a day in the life of animals running a coffee shop. And the cool thing, I'm drawing it. My daughter's coloring it. It's a first kind of family joint effort that we're going to do. And then, Dan has his side story that he's going to work on. And we have, a Celestial Knight side story. So they're all side stories that happen within our universes, but they won't be part of our main storyline. So it's exclusive for the issue 0. And we have Mo Lubison, he's done, I think, work for everybody on the brand by now. And he is contributing a 6-page story that he's done. So you'll get all original content from all of us. And that will only be if you, collect all 3 of these. And we're going to do a hollow foil cover exclusive just for the website. You go to our website, you get this, but you have to back all 3 campaigns. Now, the next question is, well, what if I miss a campaign? Well, after my campaign launches and ends, you will be able to do an add-on for Crit number 8 on Dan's campaign, so you can get that coupon. And then when we do, the CK versus CP book, you'll be able to add mine and Dan's on there, so you can get all 3 coupons.
That's
So we're making it so everyone can get, participate and not miss out, because we know that, hey, you may not have heard of us in April, and maybe you just hear about this in May, or maybe you come in the party late and you're in June. We want to make sure everyone's able to pick up on this and be part of it, because it's going to be a big deal. If we remember Image 0, that's where the inspiration came from. You cut out the coupons and you send it in, you spend $10 and you get your book. it's going to be very similar to that, except you don't have to cut anything out. You just got to go to a website and type in some codes, and then you get your shipment of Homebrewed Zero, and buy some goodies. I'm known for throwing in a bunch of stickers and stuff, and we'll probably have some fun things to throw in there.
Awesome.
But
I love the idea of this, just because like it's like having a scavenger hunt.
yes,
Yeah.
I love this, man. That's kind of the way that we described it last week. Was it's like comic scavenger hunts, and it makes it so much more immersive for the fans out there, and I love the idea of this.
Yeah, we have all of our own individual coupons that Dan designed. He took off. Yeah, it's his thing. He's running with it. And my only request was I get pink, because the Crit logo is pink, mainly because Spectre's powers are pink, and he's always on the cover with his pink stuff. And I was like, I'll just take pink.
You just like pink. Just admit you like pink.
Hey, tough guys like pink. Just saying. Okay. It's such a cool concept for us, and one thing that for me, when we were building this brand and rebranding this year and bringing creators in, it's important to me that Crit isn't just my book, it's Drew's book, it's Dan's book. When Bigfoot launches, it's not just Dan's book. Yes, he's writing it, he's creating it, but we all have the same vested interest in everyone's books because we want to see them all succeed. This isn't, you see a lot of indie creators that feel like they're in competition with each other. And Dan and I proved a couple of years ago that indie creators can coincide. And we launched our Kickstarter. Awesome. I hope it's a pink Deadpool suit. That would be freaking dope.
Yes.
But the Sacramento Deadpool suit. He does, yeah.
Dan has said it. I get pink. So, when we were, it was just coincidence. I was planning out my Kickstarter for issue 4, and I at the time I was like, I had a group of friends, and we didn't want to step on each other's toes, so we would kind of plan when we would launch a Kickstarter. And I was like, cool, I'm going to launch on this day, and I was so set on the date. And on the day that I start making the marketing material and I start about to post, Dan posts his, and it's the same day. And mind you, this was issue 2 of Bigfoot. It wasn't like even better. So I messaged him and I said, hey, like, I hope you don't mind, but I'm launching the same day, and I've already solidified this, and like the week after isn't good, the week before isn't good for me, like that's the best day for me to launch too. And we were talking, and I said, hey, like, could we do a joint launch? Because we both do live launches. And I said, hey, like, I have an idea. We launch at the same time. We do this Instagram live where we pull people in and we support each other, because in indie comics, a lot of people like to compete. I don't have any competition with Bigfoot. I mean, it's Bigfoot knows karate. Like it's got its own universe. He's doing his own thing. And hopefully like the fan, I think we would share fans, like I would see us not competing, but I would see people going, oh, wow, I want to get both these books. Mm-hmm. And we wound up funding in like 15 minutes. And our goals weren't 500. They were like $1,500, $200, $2,000. So we raised, $3,000 to $4,000 in 15 minutes for these books, which is amazing. Like people came out. We had like 250 views on that hour and a half live that we did. And like that to me said to the community, like, hey, like you don't have to compete. You work together. You show the fans that, you're a unit, like indie comics is here. And we did that. And so when we started going down this path with things, it just makes sense, like we both want to see each other succeed. And Dan's he's a marketing genius. And him and I think we clicked because I have a background in marketing too. And Drew and I are very business minded, and we are actually launching into the world of Whatnot with Dennis. We have to build that, and there's some things we want to do with that. We want to do some exclusive covers, homage covers, foils, medals, things like that, to really make that store, important. But like we all bring this different thing to the table, and I think that's what's cool about indie comics is you've got books out there about superheroes. You've got books out there like my collection of indie comics is so vast, and you get all these cool little stories that you don't get just walking in and picking up a book off the shelf. You can read Spider-Man how many times and miss the fact that he's not married to Mary Jane anymore, or you can go and and how often do we hear us complain what they're doing with these characters that we've loved since we were kids?
Yeah, you hear a lot of people complain about all this stuff all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna jump in that mud, but you're not tied to Marvel and DC anymore, and
Right.
there are independents out there that are doing a lot of things, but I think the Kickstarter community, especially like these people who are pouring their hearts and souls into stories, are worth taking a shot on. And here we are, 4 dudes writing comic books that it's I steal the FUBU thing, for us by us. All of us write stories that we would want to read.
And I
Yeah.
absolutely agree with that, just because that's kind of where we went on this. Like when we first started this show, it was very much we were going for the biggest celebrities we could get and everything like that, and everything we could, and we started talking to indie creators, and one by one, like we had one indie creator come on, and it was like, oh my god, this is amazing, this
Yeah.
story is so good, and everything that's going on here is good. And they would tell a friend, and they would book on the show, and then they would tell a friend, and they would book on the show, and then we just started kind of focusing on indie comics, just because the storytelling in indie comics is amazing, and just the word needs to be out there. So it's kind of like we have this platform. We want to elevate every indie creator that we can, because you guys are so creative and you come up with all of these amazing stories, and I feel like it needs to be out there.
I've read, people ask me like, "What's the last comic book you read?" And I'm just like, it's probably a comic book you haven't heard of. Now, right now, I'm going through our books because we've essentially got like this road show of shows. My girlfriend, she's like, "What are you doing tonight?" I'm like, "Well, I have a show this night. I have a show this night." And she's like, "How many comic book shows are you on?" And I'm like, "One every night." And here's
Yeah.
another thing: like when I'm not doing these shows, we're having brand meetings because we've got so many Kickstarters coming up. We've got to be prepared, and we have distribution launching in fourth quarter, and then we've got plans for third quarter. Like, what are we doing after the Kickstarters? What are we doing in this midway? Because I don't want to be those creators that you only hear from us when there's a Kickstarter.
Yeah,
Because
Right.
I think one thing that I've learned in the past few years, we're always promoting the current book, and we don't realize that in the last year, we've grown fans that never read the first book.
Right.
And then they feel overwhelmed because, well, I'm coming in on book 8. Like, how do I get into book 1? So, we've got, if you go to even my Instagram, I have the Homebrew Comics Instagram, and every week we've been doing digital releases of our early books. We want people to get in. We want people to read the foundation of these stories and catch up to where we're at now. Just because you're coming in on Kickstarter number 8 doesn't mean you can't get those first books, because I make sure, and Dan and all of us make sure, that those past copies are available. And on every one of our Kickstarters, you're going to be able to get issue 1 of the other brands. So there's going to be Celestial Knight 1, Caspian Porter 1, Bigfoot Nose Karate 1 on mine. And we have a lot of backstock to also, put out there, because we've got to rebrand everything with the new logo, because that new logo is beautiful. Thanks, Chris. So like we want people to get these awesome stories that they can get invested in. And I talk about this quite a bit, and I'm sure the guys are going to get tired of hearing me say this, but with indie comics, I consider success getting past your second issue, because so many people fall off after issue 2 because it's not easy. It's hard.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me how much work went into. So issue 6 of Crit, I drew, I lettered, I colored everything. Everything on that book is me. And somebody asked, how long did that take you? I said 3,000 hours. Okay. 3,000
Wow.
hours for one book. I kept track of it just to see what my productivity level could be, and if in 3,000 hours for one book is not really honestly a feasible thing for one person to put out the level that I want to put out.
Right.
And so when you're picking up that indie book, just remember this isn't, someone getting paid to draw this and then it goes with this person. It's like usually one or two people that are pouring a lot of work into this to give you a story that they've poured a lot of work into. And we don't have, editors and editors in chief and these people saying, well, this is what we need to have in there. It's like you're getting, honestly, I think more raw, more core storytelling that just doesn't exist out there anymore.
Absolutely. And I feel like the stories, like the stories that you guys tell, those are like personal to you. And so it's, I think you guys put more into it as well. Like that's what I love about indie comics is that,
It's got passion.
yeah, it's not,
Yes.
oh, hey, I'm going to start writing Superman, like, and I'll
Well,
have
how many writers right
24
now
issues, it's like, okay.
you see, like, and this isn't, again, nothing I'm saying is meant to be taken as a hit, but like we get comics now, new books with top selling characters like Cable and these characters, they canceled in one book,
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been saying this for a few years. The people who are writing comic books right now, because we have how many books are being released by Marvel every month in DC.
Yeah.
You can't
Oh, God,
have
a lot.
100 people that are actually invested in those characters.
Right.
They bring on a lot of like YA writers and things who really want to write a book so they can get a movie deal, because that's what a lot of people do. They're like, hey, I can't write a movie, but I can write a Spider-Man comic and then I can use that as my pitch for a movie.
Right.
So they're, to me, it's like they're grifting on what we grew up on, what we love.
Like,
Yeah.
it's not to take anything from Bendis, but I mean, like Brian Michael Bendis is doing that right now. Like literally, he's now doing script writing based on comic books that he wrote.
Yep.
And that's what. I mean, I'm not going to hit on Bendis had some good
And
script,
I was just nothing against Bendis because the man is an amazing writer, but I'm just saying, like, it's kind of like that same concept is that he kind of used it as a platform to do other things. But then what I love about what Bendis is doing is, okay, we're going to adapt one of your properties, and he's like, okay, let's adapt my property and let me write the screenplay for it. But then also, I'm going to add context to things that I couldn't put in the comic, and I enjoy that about what he does when he rewrites for film too.
Well, if you look at like Wanted and those stories that came from indie comics,
right?
Yeah.
I just go back to the conversation with my girlfriend recently because she didn't realize so much came from comics.
A lot of people don't.
Like Men in Black was a comic book,
right?
Yeah.
So
History of Violence is a comic book,
right? I always forget that, but History of Violence,
Perdition is a comic book.
Yeah, those are all comics.
So many stories that we like came from comics, and that's great. But like, not every person is going to jump on Spider-Man, Avengers, X-Men, Batman, and then be able to pitch a movie.
Right.
Just because you want to write it doesn't mean you're going to get a movie deal. So like, go work on your movie script. Give me the Spider-Man that the fans want, and then go write. And I harp on Spider-Man just because like I really just haven't liked the last few runs, but except Ultimate Spider-Man was pretty good. It's Dan said the same thing. Like we have so much in the indie community of good storytelling, and when I first got into this, I did a lot of research on indie comics. Of like, I remember when I was drawing issue 1, I went to Connecticut because I'm from Connecticut, and I rode up there. I had a 12-hour drive, and I listened to nothing but comic book podcasts, and a lot of it was the Image guys because I grew up in the 90s. I grew up loving Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man, going into Spawn, reading X-Force and going into Youngblood, X-Men, going into not Wetworks, but Wetworks is still one of my favorite Image titles, even though it didn't last long. Portaccio, I wish he would have just stuck with it, but Wildcats, thank you for Jim Lee. Like I actually made my kid watch that cartoon and she loved it too. So I grew up on those things. So I'm going up to Connecticut and I'm listening, and Todd McFarlane had a lot of podcasts that he was on, and I listened to a lot of what he had to say. And one thing that stuck with me, he's like, a lot of these creators get in and they're like, I want to break the top 100. Well, you're not. The top 100 is your Spider-Man, your Batman, your Spawn, these titles that have been around for 300, 400, 500, sometimes 50 years worth of writing. He said, really, to break it, you got to be in the top 200. If you can make top 200, and in my head, I'm like, that's something to reach for. Top 200, that's, there's 199 after me that I don't have to worry about. I think those are better odds than 99 underneath, and so that just stuck on my head. Like, I think by the end of my run, I have 42 issues of Crit that I want to do. I just want one of them to hit the top 200. So that's the goal for me. Yeah. And I know that's a big reach, but hey, if I can take it from not drawing ever in my life to taking a D&D campaign and turning it into a comic book that has gotten into 8 issues, and I've had people all over the world literally purchase it, and they come back for more, I'm doing something right. So maybe if by issue 42 I can amass just enough to get on top 200.
Yeah. I mean, I take it back to the very first episode of this podcast. The name of the episode was "You've Got to Start Somewhere," right? And that's the whole thing is with whatever goal that you want or anything like that. Like, I mean, you're a entirely self-taught artist, right? And it's kind of like you have to start somewhere. You have to put pencil to page or either way, pencil to paper, whether you're writing or you're drawing or anything like that, in order to create something generally. So, I mean, like, that's kind of like the start of it is doing that.
The podcast thing and passion. I was on a vacation a few years ago with my friends Terrell and Brad, who are both, Caliber and Boulder in my book. And we have these chats about everything, and we argue, and we all have different viewpoints on things. And I was like, man, I want to do a podcast. And I had this podcast name, Full Frontal Nerdity, in my head. And I had this whole plan for it. And Brad calls me, and both of them, they're like, you're crazy. You have a comic book. You have, at the time I was working 2 jobs. You have a family. You're not dragging us into a podcast. They hated the idea. They're like, no, you already dragged us into a comic book. I'm not getting on a podcast. I'm not going to do it. So I did shelf that idea, but I did get the email and a few other things going before I was like, you know what, you're probably right. This isn't a good idea. It's going to be too much.
Just put it in your pocket. You can do it later.
It's in the back pocket for one day, and if somebody steals that name, I own the email. You have to pay me a lot of money, like $10, or DoorDash me some food. But like, I have all these like ideas for stuff, and then I just go back to the fact that really my passion is just making comic books, because I think back to issue 2 of Crit. There's a part in there where Caliber they just get this brand new van because Ninja Turtles had a van, so why not Crit?
Yeah.
And Caliber's driving, and because on paper he had the best driving skills, so he got to drive the van. Well, he just drives into combat and just rams into this vehicle, and then he just keeps ramming into the vehicle. And I think the dialogue is something like, Reach, who built this vehicle, is like, you shouldn't do that. Like, why are you ruining our van? And he's like, I'm gonna ram it, and I'm gonna hit it again and again. And my kid is just reading this thing laughing, because she's like, and again and again. And I'm not gonna get that on anything else. Like just watching my kid laugh, and even to this day, she'll open up a book and she reads them and she finds things funny, and she's like, or other things she's like, that's kind of inappropriate, but it's really funny. Don't tell mom I said that,
I mean, she's 14. She's allowed. It's fine.
Yeah.
She still is probably one of them. She still comes home and she's like, I won't say. She refuses to cuss. Like, she finds it very admirable for her. Like, she's like, I don't cuss. I'm not going to be that kid. I'm like, just wait till you drop your first F-bomb, kid. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, I gave up on that when I was like 16.
Yeah, she got a couple more years. Hopefully, we can keep her, where she is, because it's really fun. But
that you can't. The Army made it worse. So I mean, just
Army. My dad was a truck driver, so I grew up around that. But
There you go.
My
Yeah, you
dad's
just-
a sailor.
oh, even worse.
Yeah. No, your dad was eastbound and down. That's fine.
But yeah, like I'm not gonna get that kind of reaction from things anywhere else. And like I said, you know, being able to see my friends' kids look at them and say, "My dad's a superhero," you know, like
Yeah.
that's just really cool. And you can't get that anywhere else. So indie comics is my home. And there's my cat making noise.
Okay.
Until I threw a pen at him, now he's scared.
Oh.
Well, if you haven't heard Jen's dogs making noises the entire time, it's fine.
I'm trying not to have them do it. I've been
It's okay.
trying to have husband like get them out of here. My dogs like to be near me, and they're very inappropriate when they're near me. So I don't know. I'm a good mom, I guess.
Every once in a while, my cat will jump on a podcast. And the last one I was on, because I was on too long, he was like really wanting food. So he just jumps on my lap and just hangs out. So eventually he may come over here. But he's found something under the bookshelf that he is actively trying to attack. So he'll be good for a while.
I mean, the joke is always, you know, if a cat jumps on, it's like, oh, cool, are we gonna get kicked off of Twitch because of cat butt?
Oh.
Oh my god. So you're on your 8th book. You guys are doing the Kickstarters. You went over all of that.
Yep. Next
have
Wednesday, 8
coupons.
p.m. Coupons, hit that. Yep.
Coupons. Okay. All right. Awesome. I just wanted to make sure we kind of got off.
It's fine. It's fine.
Sort
Going
of
off
a
topic
road.
is okay. That's kind of what our show is. But I mean,
Yeah. Our motto is you can't go off the rails if you've never been on them. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So let's jump into some fun questions here, right? Just jumping in a little more randomness and learning a little bit more about you and the way you think. We've been doing that the entire show, but I mean, like more fun stuff, right? So, what would be the worst movie sequel ever made? Now, when I preface this, I mean not a movie that's been made. What is a movie that doesn't need a sequel, but you know Hollywood's gonna make?
Trying to think of the name. It was Christian Bale. They had gunfighting, and I can't think of the name.
Equinox.
Was it Equinox? Equilibrium.
Equilibrium. That's it. Yeah.
Equilibrium.
Does not need a sequel. It's a great standalone movie. I don't want a trilogy out of it. It told its story. Move on.
And Sean Bean died in it.
Oh God, that's ongoing joke from last week.
But Sean Bean, that's like the thing. If he's in a movie, you know his character dies. Like
It's
that's
exactly-
a big hate.
We were talking about him in Oblivion. We were like, so if we're getting an Oblivion remake, does that mean Sean Bean and Patrick Stewart are going to die again?
Right.
Probably.
Well, no.
I think it's in their contract. They have to die. You know.
Right. It was funny because, and I mentioned The Martian. He's in that, and so, but he's on Earth, and I'm like, oh, the whole time he was on it, I was like, he's in front of this big window. I'm like, something's gonna just like careen through that window and like just stab him to the wall or something. Because I was like, he always dies, and he made it. I was like very
like Sean
bait and switch.
Survived?
I know. I was like, this is great.
We're
Oh
gonna
my
do a
gosh.
sequel, and he's gonna die in the first 5 minutes.
They have to. Like, there's
It
a
has to
deleted
happen.
scene somewhere where he just like chokes on like an M&M or something, and
Exactly.
like, unrelated
random
to
death.
anything. Yeah, like unnecessary death. But yeah,
Because it's Sean Bean.
because it's Sean Bean. All right, but I do agree with you. The Equilibrium was a very good standalone movie, and should not have a sequel. Who would you most like to sit next to on a 10-hour flight, and why? And they can be living, dead.
Yeah, anybody.
I mean, yeah.
You get a 12-hour flight for either this person to be alive again or for you to just sit alone and have a conversation with them.
So this is going to be real dark, but you're asking me a very personal question. I don't have a lot of I don't actually like have heroes and things like that. Like I the guys, like I said, from Image were a big inspiration. It's great. But if you're telling me alive or dead, I can sit next to anybody for 12 hours, I would say my mom, because she did pass away. And I, in the last 8 to 10 years of her life, I saw her a handful of times because I was too busy. I was a professional musician. I was signed to a subsidiary of Sony, and I thought I was going to be a rock star. So I didn't put enough time into family. And I do carry a lot of guilt for not being around her. So if you said anyone for 12 hours, I'd say my mom, hands down.
That's awesome. That is amazing.
I love that. I love that because I think that's amazing. I lost my dad a while ago, and I would love to just sit with him and catch him up on what's been going on in my life. So
because she died in 2017, so 8 years, and there's been a lot that's going on in 8 years that I would just love to, like tell her about. This, for instance, she never had to witness me doing comics.
It's like, yeah, Mom, I'm not in music anymore, and I do comics now.
Yep, pretty much. And she would say, "Doesn't surprise me."
Yeah. So, all right. Well, awesome. Okay. So, what are you currently nerding out on right now?
Stranger Things. We're at the last 45 minutes of the series until the next one comes out. I loved Stranger Things the minute I watched it. Not just the Dungeons and Dragons, but the 80s theme.
Yeah.
I think that there's so much you can do suspense and horror wise in that 80s realm, because we have enough technology to where you don't feel like it's an old movie, but there's there's not enough technology to make it to where, like, why didn't they just pick up a cell phone?
Right.
Why didn't they just do this, or they could Uber themselves? Like there's enough technology there to make it relevant, but enough where it's there's still limitations, and I really love that world building they have there.
Yeah,
so
I think that's something
geeking on that.
I think that's something that a lot of us kind of like gravitate towards with that same series.
My other one is Reacher. I absolutely love that show, Reacher. I've watched
Reacher.
Yeah, we just finished season 3, and trying to get in the books. My last thing is Warhammer 40K, because I've loved the idea of getting into it, and I work in taxes, so I have summers off, and while I am going to spend a lot of time drawing, I need something else as well. And so I bought my first Warhammer kit. I'm going to start gluing those together, and my daughter is an amazing painter, so I showed her all the miniatures. I'm like, we have like 30 miniatures we got to paint, and she's like, we got this. So she's been wanting an airbrush for a while, so I'm gonna buy 2 airbrushes, and we have every Thursday night we get together. So on our daddy-daughter nights, where this year it's violin, guitar, because I got her a guitar amp for her birthday, and so she's gonna teach me violin, I'm gonna teach her guitar. And then we're gonna paint Warhammer miniatures together and watch tons of cartoons, because that's what we do.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. These are core memories.
Yes.
That's what. Yeah. So, well, that's really great. I think that's awesome. And Phil will ask you the next question, because he's always the one that asks this question.
So I'm going to ask you the hardest question you've ever been asked in your life.
Okay.
Easily the
I'm here for it.
Ever. And especially because I know what's available in North Carolina. This is gonna be a really hard question.
It better not be about sweet tea.
No, it's not about.
Oh gosh, no.
All right, because I'm a Yankee too. You forget that. I'm from Connecticut.
Yeah, I'm from California, man. I'm not a big sweet tea fan either.
And if it's biscuits and gravy, we're gonna have an argument, because gravy is not a breakfast food.
Oh,
sausage gravy is good. It's funny. I didn't try sausage gravy until I was in the Army.
So that's
I was
a joke for somebody out there who's probably listening. I'm Italian. It is not gravy. It's sauce. You're welcome.
Yeah. I don't know if, and again, going off on tangents, but I don't know if you saw, there's a video of British kids trying biscuits and gravy for the first time.
No, but now I am
that's
very
jolly.
intrigued.
That's
It's
jolly.
hilarious.
Please tell me.
It is absolutely hilarious, and that's what they do is they give them biscuits and gravy and sweet tea.
Yeah,
Okay.
they do. Yeah.
Yeah, and they
But the channel is jolly. I love
yes,
them.
yeah,
They're awesome. Like
the kids freak the fuck out because they don't know what they're getting. So one, they've never had an American biscuit before, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're just like when we say biscuit, what do you think? And they're like, we cookies, like
Cookies.
like cookies, yeah. And they're like, okay, so this is an American biscuit, and they were like, it's a scone.
Yeah.
Like they're upset. They're just like, it's a scone. It's just like a soft scone, right?
Yeah.
And then they pull out the gravy, and they're just disgusted by it. They're just like, oh no, you're gonna put gravy on that
Beautiful.
scone, right? And,
Right.
and
Beautiful.
and put the
You're making me. I have an ongoing argument with my girlfriend about biscuits and gravy because she's
Yeah,
Southern
so
and I'm not, and so
you
I
just-
just sent her that video and I said, "Watch this, please."
you see them. No,
I win.
no, you
Thank you.
don't. You don't win because
Oh dang it!
they
Even worse.
they put the
Maybe-
gravy on there, and they're immediately talking about like gravy is vegetables and that's disgusting. You're putting that on a sweet scone. That's gross. And then they take the first bite out of it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like life changing for them.
Damn.
They're like, this is the best thing ever.
Okay,
They're
well,
I've
she
never
wins.
had anything more than like better than this. They're like, this is not great, but they also go with what you said. They're like, this isn't gravy. Like this is not what you consider gravy. It's delicious. You don't put sausage in gravy. Like this is not right.
Well, I've learned my lesson though. She's always right, so we're just gonna go with that. She's right.
Well, then they also give them fried chicken, and they start dipping the chicken in the gravy, and they're like, "This is amazing. This is the best thing I've ever had in my life."
Yeah.
Tried biscuits and gravy.
And then they give them sweet tea. And it's funny, you would think that they freak out because of it being sweet. They freak out because it's cold.
Yeah.
oh,
They all
never
are
thought
like-
about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
They're like, why do they drink it cold? Why wouldn't they have it warm? It's just it's brilliant.
And then
I love that channel.
right. And then they drink it, and that was like their favorite part of the whole thing. They're like, I could drink this for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
Well,
that's-
come to North Carolina where you can.
Yeah, North Carolina,
so-
where the only kind of drink you can get is fucking sweet tea.
Are you
Well,
going?
when I was coming down from Connecticut to North Carolina, how I moved here literally on a whim. I left on a Wednesday night and literally a Tuesday night, drove all the way through the night, and we stopped at a Friendly's somewhere in like Lower Virginia, almost North Carolina, to get some food.
Mhm.
Or no, sorry, Denny's. And I asked for iced tea because I'm from Connecticut. We have Nestle powder. It's essentially just sugar.
Yeah.
You put it in water and you get iced tea. And that's what I wanted. Well, I get a cup and it looks like, a darker iced tea. But I'm like, okay, cool. I drink it and I'm like, this is tea. This is just cold tea. What is this? This is not iced tea. And the lady's like, you're in the South. You can't get that. And so I moved here on a Wednesday, and ever since 2004 on August 8th, I have not had iced tea because it's not available.
Like, I have not had tea because I can't get it.
Yes, and I don't really like sweet tea, so I like hot tea.
Yeah.
Yeah, sweet tea is just it's diabetes in tea form.
I mean,
It really
yeah,
is.
I mean, really, it is. How much sugar can you put in a glass?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And we'll put a little bit of water in there so it gives it a little bit of color. But so the question, going back to the question, because again I went on a tangent. What is your favorite kind of taco? Like I said, hard question just because there's not a lot of good Mexican food in North Carolina. I'm throwing that out there right now.
So there is a place, I can't think of it, dang it, right now. There's a place that's opened in Winston-Salem, and it's not a Chipotle, and they have a good mix of tacos. But honestly, I still like my homemade tacos the best because you can't really get, like you said, there's no real good taco places. And Taco Bell in the 80s and 90s was good, but now it's just garbage.
Yeah.
So I like to get the shells that have the hard shell, and then you put a soft shell around them. And I actually mix ground turkey and low fat ground beef together with some taco seasoning, and I really enjoy that. But there is a Mexican place that around here that does have, and I forget it, and I can't take off the top of my head, I can't remember it. But they probably have the better tacos around. I've been to a few Mexican places, but if you sit me down in an actual Mexican place, I'm just gonna do ACP because that's what I like. I haven't found even good tacos in the Mexican places because they always want to throw beans and stuff. I just want beef, lettuce, some sour cream, and some hot sauce, and I'm good.
That's awesome.
Gotcha.
That's a
No
basic
pico
one,
sauce
but
for me.
that's
I don't
good.
like that stuff. Just give me beef and cheese and some lettuce and a wrap, and I'm happy. Simple.
A simple man with simple tastes.
Yeah, I have a very simple palate.
I'm a Hispanic man, and I have a very simple palate. It's fine.
I'm an Irish girl, and I do not have a simple palate.
I'm Italian. Give me pasta and I'm chicken and rice. I'm happy.
Yeah.
You know what?
although
Maybe
I
I
was-
do have a simple palate because I like those things too.
I would say, although I do love spicy.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it, but I can't have it. It just tears me up on the inside, and I'm down for a few days, so I had to give it up. Although
Yeah.
I'm stupid, and like I'll go like 6 months and I'll be fine. I'm like, oh yeah, I should eat spicy food, and then the next day I'm like, oh, this is why I haven't eaten for 6 months.
This is the reminder I needed.
Yeah, my wife and I. So actually, there's a place out here called Paisanos, and they do Italian food, but a lot of their like the Italian food in general is good, but they'll do like a lot of like specials and stuff like that are very like Mexican inspired, right? So I've had things that are just like I did not expect this to be good, and it's really good. And we just recently got a braised pork cilantro lime pesto.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's really good actually. But it was supposed to be really spicy. Like they were saying, like, yeah, no, it's gonna be really spicy. Some people can't handle it. We got that, and we got a sorpresa pizza that had hot honey on it, and the guy said it was supposed to be spicy too. And both me and my wife looked at each other like, this is not spicy. Like people are probably dying over this. It's not spicy at all.
Yeah, my husband is Asian, so he puts sriracha on everything, like
Oh.
absolutely almost everything. And if he doesn't sweat while he's eating, he doesn't feel like he's satisfied. So yeah, we eat a lot of spicy food. So
He's also
I
Japanese.
used to.
I mean, that's normal.
So I did bodybuilding for quite a few years, and it's just chicken and rice, and you get bored of chicken and rice. So that's probably where I developed such a problem with spicy food, was because I got so bored of it. I was just putting hot sauce on everything.
Yeah, I mean and hot sauce can just like, it really is kind of a catch-all for, oh, let me just make this a little better. Just add a little sriracha.
Yep.
But, okay, so speaking of spicy, what would you say the worst horror franchise is?
Oh man, I'm not a huge horror fan, but the idea of Human Centipede just does not appeal to me.
Yeah.
That's like when people tell me to watch Two Girls, One Cup back in the day, and I'm like,
Oh,
why would I
God,
want to
no,
subject to
yeah.
myself to that kind of stuff? Like, you know,
Yeah.
I have better things to do with my time and my very fragile memory of, like, nah, I'm good. No, so yeah, Human Centipede can just go away. I'm fine with that.
Somewhere out there, Graveyard is dying on the inside.
Yeah, probably.
Graveyard is the regular host on this show, but he had some family stuff that came up. So
I'm really sorry. It just has no appeal to me. I'm not a big fan of like body horror. I do love like 80s like suspense horror where
Mm,
you have like the big bad guy who's supposed to scare you and all he does is walk through the movie, yet every teenager dies, especially if they're having sex, you know,
right. Yeah.
like I love those B movie horror films. I don't like um body gore, you know, just I don't like rape scenes for the sake of rape scenes, and I like
Right.
there's just some stuff that I think we should be uncomfortable with, and some of those movies just make us not. And I think you know that's a sacred thing, and I really don't like the idea of a person's mouth being put on someone else's uh, area. We'll
yeah.
just put it that way.
Yeah.
It's just kind of
Yeah.
no. I'm good.
Yeah.
So,
I'm
so
good.
not a fan of Art the Clown then.
Nope, not at all.
It's okay. It is 100% okay to not be a fan of Art the Clown. Those movies are terrible.
I watched
still say-
one.
Yeah, and you probably regretted it.
I tried to sleep. I was going actually as I was about to get on a flight to New York Comic Con. The guys were watching the first one. It was like right before the third one came out or something. And I watched parts of it, and I'm like, but why? You know, like why?
A
The
lot
guy's
of
scary looking, but hey, if that's your thing, I'm not gonna shame you. But just not for me. I'm good.
the majority of that movie is just gore for the sake of gore. So
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's also just because the director he was trying to show people that you don't have to do you don't have to do like heavy CG in order to have a good gory scary movie.
no, I get it, and like I like horror to a degree, but I just think that there's just over the top stuff.
Yeah,
And everybody has their thing, and I will gladly stick to sci-fi and 80s B movies. I'll be good with that all day long.
I'm with you on that.
Awesome.
So what's some advice you might have for anybody trying to get into the industry, whether it be comic books or just any creative outlet?
Well, as a person who dove in, head first, and everything I've done wrong first to learn. Do the research for one, and be humble. A lot of people I know that we spend a lot of time creating these things, and we think they're the best thing in the world. But don't be afraid to give your characters flaws, because I think too many of us come out the gate with my character's the best, and I love the arguments with people when I'm like, nah, your guy could probably kick the crap out of mine. And that's fine, Don't be afraid to try new things, and don't be afraid to fail, because that's the joy of independent. You can fall flat on your face and learn from it and come back. No one's going to fire you.
Right.
But also don't be afraid to try it. I think there's a lot of creators out there that haven't created anything. They have this idea and they want to get the idea perfect, but it's like saying, I'm going to do this tomorrow, and tomorrow never comes. So jump in head first, make friends, and don't be afraid to fail. Because I'll tell you what, my first Kickstarter failed. I didn't know how to draw. I had people tear me down every day, and I just got back up every single time. Every single time, my ex would delete something on my iPad. My kid would tell me that doesn't look right. My mother-in-law would tell me that doesn't look right. And even now, 5 years in, and I'm very proud of the artwork I draw, but I'll send stuff to Robert and he tells me that's wrong. Like, don't have an ego in it. Just go in and take all the criticism you can, because criticism, the right criticism is there to help you get better, not to bring you down. And if someone's going to bring you down, just take that and run with it. Because I talked earlier about my first, the first review where it was like, oh, it's just a run of the mill comic, but the ending kicks you in the gut. And I had a guy working with me on marketing at that point. He's like, man, that's such a bad review. And I said, it's not. Why? He said he liked it. It was a run of the mill beginning, which it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be familiar, and it kicks you in the gut. I'm happy. The artwork isn't the greatest. Well, guess what? I taught myself how to draw with that book. If I think I'm coming out with I'm not Jim Lee just by picking up a pen. He might have used my stylus, but um, so be humble and be prepared to fail. It's okay.
That's awesome.
That is great advice.
Okay.
So speaking of your character potentially getting his ass kicked, who wins in a fight, Boulder or Luke Cage?
Ooh. Well, it does depend which version of. So again, my characters grow as they go through the book, and this is D&D, and I'm going to give away something that doesn't happen for a very, very long time, so you'll forget. Boulder does one shot a Kraken.
He one shots a Kraken?
He one shot a Now, I will say...
Did he roll a fucking nat 20? What the shit?
He rolled a nat 20 on his most powerful level 20 move. It happened, and we all said so many curses. I said, like, I built this entire fight battle with a Kraken, and because of the move that he had, I play the way it's written, and and this is straight out of actual 5th edition D&D. Boulder is a monk barbarian. It is a broke build, and he one shot a Kraken. So I would say if level 20 Boulder went up against Luke Cage, he might give Luke Cage a run for his money. But if you go against Boulder as written right now in the comics, Luke Cage is going to wipe the floor with him.
Wow.
I will say Boulder will get back up every single time because he's stubborn. But I think modern Luke Cage versus current level Boulder, he's going to lose. But if you wait a few years, when I put out the book where he one shots the Kraken, I think Luke Cage is going to have a run for his money.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's fair, and also is great for you because you know the character and you know what's going to happen. So that's awesome.
Yeah. I'm still mad about it, but the dice rolled and decided by the dice. I can't go against it.
Yeah.
And you see my reaction. I'm just like, did you roll a nat 20? How the fuck you one shot the Kraken?
I really want that reaction from people when they read it. Like, how the hell did he just one shot? He rolled a nat 20.
Yeah.
I got to go through the manual again that we had. I forget the move that he used, but it's literally like so Brad, who's Caliber in our book, he has been a DM since he was a kid, and I ran it by him. I said, Brad, is this right? Like, would this happen? He said, honestly, in 5th edition, yeah, this move's broken, and even if this wasn't a homebrewed campaign, he'd still one shot the Kraken. And it was just like the most amazing, yet I'm like, well, this game's over, guys. Like, I didn't write anything except the Kraken fight, and now that's over. So Boulder, good job. You won in one roll, and he went first. No one else got to go. Yep. Monk Barbarian, ladies and gentlemen, broken build.
That's wow.
Yep.
I'm a cleric. I'm like in the one that we're doing right now, and I'm pretty freaking powerful. So I can take somebody really powerful.
Cleric's a fun class. I really enjoy the cleric.
I can take them down in 2 spells. I did Earthquake. I didn't even know that was a thing, but yeah. Yep. And it had some really interesting results. So I'll just say that. So
in Crit, the character Bones is a cleric paladin, another very broken build, but they're all very. The only one that's not really a broken character is Reach. He is just an artificer, modern artificer, straight out of the book. His powers, though, he can communicate with any technology that has some form of communication. So if he touches it, he can control it, and he's the creepy uncle character, so it's a lot of fun.
was saying he's fucking Forge, man.
Yeah.
Essentially, he's Forge, but if Forge was your creepy uncle, let's just put it that way.
Forge as the creepy uncle. That just sounds fun.
Yep.
It really, really does.
There's a line in book 4 where he's talking about the group chat. Inspector's like, I left after the tentacle porn. Like, that stuff saves on my phone, bro. Like, I'm done. And that happened in real life. We were actually playing, and the character in real life, Obi was like, hey, I sent this in group chat. And Austin was like, nah, man, I dipped after you sent tentacle porn. I couldn't stay in the group chat anymore. So it happened at the table. So if it happens at the table, it goes in the book. It's a rule.
That's awesome.
That's hilarious, though. Like, just the writing writes itself, right?
It does.
I know.
You asked about the best tacos, and in one of the books, there's actually a line: "If the cream is sour, do not devour." And Boulder we were at the table playing, and it came to Boulder's turn. He's trying to BS his way out of things. Now, Terrell really tries, but he didn't have like the highest charisma score. And he's rolling on the ground, pretending like he had bad tacos. And it was just so he had had surgery, so he was on a lot of painkillers, and he just was funny as hell. And the line was, "If the cream is sour, do not devour." And I can't tell you how long I waited to write that book just so I could put in bold letters, "If the cream is sour, do not
devour."
Yep. Rolling around the ground, pretending to have a bellyache, and then yelling at the guards because they gave him bad tacos.
That's funny.
Awesome.
My character, and I lost my character sheet, so I'm gonna have to rewrite him. But like, it's a fun character. My character is I wrote him the way I did because he is a duality character, so he's fighting nature versus nurture. Half-orc paladin.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and
it's interesting. That's very interesting because you wouldn't think of an orc as a paladin, but
right.
It's unique.
That's the whole point. He's also nobility, which makes it fucking terrible. Like, it is a very difficult character to navigate around because nature. He's naturally angry and pretty much the bloodlust is something that you have to fight against all the time. But he's a paladin, and his god is Paladine, so it's like he's like the goodest of the good. So it's like,
nice.
Yeah, so it's like, you every time I would go into any situation, the first thing I would do is take a knee and pray to Paladine. And it's just like, I need you to guide me because I'm gonna fucking kill everybody if you don't. And my DM used to love that shit.
People ask me like, what's the hardest thing to play in D&D, and I tell them lawful good.
Oh yeah,
it's very, very hard to truly be a lawfully good character.
Yeah.
Because you have to lawful good you cannot deviate from. There is no deviation. Once you deviate, you're no longer lawful good. And
that's the way I wrote him was that he's not like constantly good. He fucks up a lot, but the whole point of it was that he always, because of the way he was taught, he always tries to go for the right thing in every situation he's in, but sometimes he just loses control.
See, I like that. There's a flaw. We were talking about before, like how to write a character, and there has to be a flaw. One character a lot of people bring up a lot that is like Superman. And Brad, who's in my book, he always disliked Superman until I was talking to him one day, and I was like, well, Superman's actually the character. The mask is Clark Kent. Right. Like his flaw is trying to pretend to be a human in a world where you have to think, like, when he shakes someone's hand, he could crush their hand. So he's constantly like having to control every movement he makes. Right. Like, imagine trying to fit in a world where you have to take yourself down 100 times, and we won't even get into the idea of him being with a human like Lois Lane. Like, how do you control, like all these different things, like you have to have this self-control of. And he was like, that makes the character very interesting to me now that I look at it through that lens where he's pretending to be human. Like, that's hard.
Right. It's nature versus nurture, right? It's just it's how do you come to terms with being a god,
right?
But also having human morality and being like, I need to be a morally good person, but at the same time, I'm a god. I can destroy anything that gets in my way.
Well, then you have Injustice, which I love that storyline. Or then
Yeah.
you get into the boy. They have all these Superman characters like the boys.
Well, there's also
Yeah.
Superman versus the Furious Five. Like Superman versus the Furious
Mhm.
Five. It's like, he gets to this point where it's like he shows everybody like I could kill everybody if I wanted to, but I wouldn't do that.
Right, and there's actually an issue of Spider-Man where he's fighting the Kingpin, and he actually goes off on Kingpin, and he's like, "Wow, you've been holding your punches." He's like, "Yes," like that's a good character when
Mhm.
they're able to pull themselves back from destroying what's in front of them just because they can.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. But then you get Wonder Woman, who is all about peace, but when Max Lord
Yeah,
took control of Superman and
it depends on who's
and
writing
yeah.
her. Like the current run is kind of questionable with some of the story pieces, but
Yeah. I mean, I'm a Perez, Phil Jimenez.
yes.
Yeah, they did her really well. I can't forgive John Byrne for some of the things that he did when he was in charge of Wonder Woman, especially to Donna Troy.
Mhm.
So, because I love Donna, but yeah, so, but yeah, sometimes you just got to snap a neck. I mean,
I mean, you know what? That's a good motto to have in life. Sometimes you just gotta snap a
I'm
neck.
just gonna snap a neck.
Yep.
I mean, it's also
Officer, just sometimes you just gotta snap.
I mean, like,
Sure,
yeah, that's the
won't
thing
get
about
me in
Diana.
trouble.
That's what I love about Diana. I mean, just depending on the character, who's writing the character, Diana can be extremely OP, or Diana can be like, somebody who is dealing with, oh, I'm a fucking goddess at this point. I'm a demigod. So,
Yeah.
it's again, there's it's always about the writer.
Yeah,
It
that's why I
is.
was like about DC Comics, was it's more about Greek gods as superheroes than it was, superheroes like the X-Men who are the misfits.
Right.
Um
Yeah.
I gravitated towards that because I always loved Greek mythology.
Mhm.
So I was very into that until I got out of comic books for a few years, and then I came back during New 52, and I'm like, what is this?
Right. Yeah, that was that was a left turn when you
Yeah.
probably should have gone right. But yeah, I agree. I did like the countdown to it, and I liked the final crisis that they did. I thought those were
Mhm.
really interesting stories. But yeah, the reboot was kind of a dud. So um, let's move on to better things, though. Let's talk about, so what's next for you. So you've got issue 8
Yeah,
Kickstarter
April
coming.
30th, 8
Mhm.
p.m., launching crit number 8. It's He Who Would Be King. It is introducing King Arthur to the story. At least the lore of King Arthur, we never, like, how do I put this? Everything's a build. We answer questions, we create new ones. And in this one, we finally get to bring in the character I've been dying to talk about since I started this whole thing. Because I said it's an Arthurian tale, you just have to wait. And now you get to see some of the history of King Arthur and how he affects or has an impact on some of the stuff that's going on. And, realistically, King Arthur was probably one of the first superheroes.
Yeah.
Like in this story, you hear about him battling monsters and things. And like you think of it as lore, but really, like, we're in a world that superheroes exist. And so
Yeah.
you get to hear some of these stories and some of the background things that have been going on, because crit is a very character centric, character driven. So you're always seeing things from the team's perspective. Like I've every book I've done is always from the team's perspective. This is actually giving you kind of like we're lifting the veil a little bit, and you get to see it from other people's perspective and storylines, and they're telling these things to the team, and you get to hear about King Arthur. You get to hear about some of these older uh, groups that existed that affect the future of crit. And it's a big unmasking there that is going to be fun to tell. And this is a story that does require a bit of writing and finesse, because it was a DM. Like, you've played D&D, and it's not always about combat. This was the first session we had where it was more of a dialogue-driven game, role-playing, asking the right questions, getting the answers you like. Where are we going with this? Because the characters needed to know the world around them, and this is a big world-building book that I'm very excited for.
Yeah.
So April 30th, Crit 8 coupon number 1 drops with that, so you get the pink coupon with my 3-digit code. And then right after that, May 14th, so literally 2 weeks later, we go right into Bigfoot Knows Karate. So we're going to have both those campaigns going at the same time. They will be 2 weeks apart, so you'll be able to kind of catch them both. In the event that you miss the tail end of Crit, you can always pick it up with, Bigfoot Knows Karate. And then that's when we have coupon number 2. And then right on June 21st, right at the tail end of Bigfoot, you're going to have Celestial Knight versus Caspian Porter. And like I said, that's an Amazon delivery gone wrong. That's all I'll give away on that one. And we do, on our website, have an ash can. So, we do have the ash can for that one on our website.
Nice.
They are numbered. Okay. So there's only 75 of them. I've got the 33rd here in my hand. Foil lettered, so you can kind of get an idea of what this book will be. We have a limited number on the website. You can go there, purchase it. We'll ship it out immediately for you, so you can check it out. And that will round out our Kickstarter season for right now. Once we're done with these 3 Kickstarters, first and foremost, we're going to get these books done. Dan and I and the team on CK, we want to ship these. I believe the ship date's going to be between September and October for all of these books. So while we're waiting for those books to come out, we do have distribution coming into play. And we also have our Amazon and Barnes & Noble stuff. So you can get the collected editions of Crit and the collected edition of Caspian Porter on Amazon. And we'll be probably working on some other collected editions in that, that summertime, as well as really getting into gear with the physical distribution that launches at the end of the year with Philbo Distributions. So we have a whole bunch of comic book stores that are ready to, really kick us off. We have exclusive covers coming to all retail stores. And we're starting fresh, so you'll be able to get in the comic book store exclusive covers for issues 1 and so on. So big things coming from us this year. We have plans for next year already with bringing in some new titles, some new creators that we've been talking to. But year 1, it's the 4 of us. We're going to stick to this and not grow too fast. We want to really create a foundation so where when we start to grow, it's there. Fourth quarter, we have some plans. We have to solidify them, but I believe we're going to be doing some side-by-side Kickstarters. So I have a story, Mr. Wizard and Friends, which has had some of the pages are, I think we have 8 pages that have been included in some of the past Crit books. Mr. Wizard and Friends is another D&D campaign that we played previous to this. It's a wacky story that ends with a wrestling match in the gates of hell, which is Australia, against the Greek gods, and Brandy Savage.
John C.
Oh yeah!
Yes. So it's a play on a bunch of different. We have Wanye Kest is leading a band of misfits to take on Greek gods that have been infiltrated our world by taking over some of the most powerful socialites. And let's just say that Justin Bieber. I forget what his name is, but he becomes Hades, and he controls Australia, which is the portal to hell, and it ends with Brandy Savage body slamming him in hell. So I am putting that first issue in that I'll have that on Kickstarter at the end of the year. Half the book's already done. I've been working on it for a while. It's a short, probably a 4 to 6 issue arc, but in Crit, it's a TV show. So the characters will eventually, you'll see them in Crit at some point, but as their actors. It's going to be the actors who are them.
Oh, that's great. That's meta.
And all the characters in this book are Mr. Wizard, Reaper, and Just Alan. And the only reason it's Just Alan is the first interview, they were like, Alan, like Just Alan? He's like, yeah, Just Alan. And so it kind of stuck that his name was Just Alan. And he gets so mad. He's like, no, it's Alan. Yeah, okay, Just Alan. So yes, it's very meta. And, I always wanted to do something with this story because it was a lot of fun. It was my first venture as a dungeon master. And of course, everything just derailed into a wrestling match in hell. And so, like at the very end, I think we had just kind of given up on really the rules and playing. And I said, okay, we're done. Randy Savage comes up out of hell and grabs, Hades and just slams him and it kind of like, ends the whole thing because now Hades is done and he's been controlling all this. So fun story. Can't wait to tell it. I believe we've got a story called Mama's Boy, which is going to be written by Dennis and art done by Muhammad Lewison, who is our cover artist right now. And that one is a very dark, gritty tale. And then I know Drew and Dan have some stories they want to do. So I think fourth quarter, we're going to really bring in some new titles to Homebrewed. And, nothing better than doing fourth quarter with some new stuff, because that can be a gauntlet. And I'd really like us to test the waters of doing some side-by-side campaigns. So we're going to be doing that and having some fun, close out the year strong. And then January next year, we're going to come right back at it. So,
awesome. That's
people are getting tired of us, but we're going to be here for a while.
That's how you do it.
The more of you guys, the better. And every time you guys have a campaign, if you want to come on, just let us know.
Hell yeah, that'd be awesome.
Or
really had fun tonight.
You guys
this was awesome.
Come on a game night. We actually do Friday game nights.
Oh, heck yeah.
Actually, we do Friday shows and we rotate what we do. But like, we do like stuff like Jep Nerdy.
We're gonna be doing Jep Nerdy next week.
Yeah, next week. And but we do tons of like Friday hangout stuff.
Yeah. Well, now we figured out how to do Jackbox games. So we can do Jackbox games.
So yeah.
Oh, okay.
Anytime you want to do that.
Yeah,
anytime you want to come on and do that, or just let us know. We'll shoot you something to say, hey, we're gonna do this Friday if you want to.
Oh yeah, keep in touch. We're friends on Instagram now, so that makes us best friends. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Best friends forever. Best friends forever. Club. Woo! All right. Well, before we get going here, where can everybody follow you? Where can everybody find out, learn more about you? Where give us all your pluggables, man.
Yeah. Let me get into that. So first and foremost, homebrewedcomics.com. Drew's been really putting a lot of work into that, and we have all the socials on there. All the Kickstarter campaigns are right on the landing page, so you can go there, follow them. Definitely hit the follow button because we're trying to get as many pre-launches signed up. Go to on Instagram, it's at Homebrewed Comics, no special spelling. Give a follow on my link tree on there is everybody. You can find the campaigns, you can find the Instagrams for everybody. Everything's there, very easy to find. I'm not gonna inundate everyone with all of our different Instagrams. Just you can find it at right on mine at Homebrewed Comics and on the website. So go there. You can download issue 0 of Crit for free. It's a free download. Check it out. It's like an 18-page. It's called character sheets because if you've played Dungeons and Dragons, in the first issue, everyone has these superhero knockoff. Like Boulder looks like Captain America meets Ant-Man. Caliber is the most generic green soldier-looking dude, and they stop a bank robbery in the worst way possible by accidentally pretty much killing everybody and then getting yelled at by their boss. So when you pick up issue 1 and you're seeing them getting yelled at by their boss for killing people, he's like, you can't do this. The optics are bad. I'm trying to sell you as superheroes. Superheroes don't kill people. And yeah, so and at the very end they rebrand and they're all in their new suits, and it's a joke. Like, well, we had to rebrand because the joke is they were going to get sued by the mouse because you have Captain America in the group and you can't do that.
Oh boy, you guys are giving me all the money. Give me
Pretty much, yes. So just like I said, go to the website, download the free thing. You can order your copy, your ash can of Celestial Knight versus Caspian Porter, and follow all the campaigns so you can make sure to get your coupon and take part in Homebrewed Zero, which is going to be really awesome content that you can't get anywhere else.
Amazing.
That's amazing.
So great. So yeah, before we get going, Chris, appreciate you coming on here tonight. I'm gonna have Jen give us all her pluggables here real quick before we get going. And we didn't warn you about the dance party, but dance party's coming up.
Yeah, I'm all about dance parties.
Yeah, all you got to do is just grab something and make it dance on screen when the theme starts. So, Jen, give everybody your pluggables, please.
Hi, I'm Jen, Frey Girl, and I have a YouTube channel, Frey Girl. It's YouTube, where my son and I do a show called Classified, where we take your favorite fandoms and we put them into Dungeons and Dragons classes. We also have a sister show called Journals of the Classes, so it actually goes through all of the classes for you in case you haven't ever played Dungeons and Dragons and want to know why the heck we made Percy a monk.
I'm still here if you need me.
Okay.
Oh, my iPhone just heard you for some reason. It wanted to talk.
Oh, yay. Hi, phone. And then we also have a new sister show coming up called Journals of the Ancients, and it's going to be about like all the histories of the different races in Dungeons and Dragons, so you can really understand why orcs are always mad. So that's it. Shadu does a lot of that stuff with me. I'm on, obviously, Distance Nerding. I do the download on Tuesdays. Occasionally I'm here on Thursdays and a lot of times on Fridays. And I also do stuff for Kyber Cave. There's a show on that I'm doing called New Order, and it should come out soon. And
eventually.
Follow me on eventually. All of the socials at Frey Girl, Frey Comics. That's me.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am your boy, Young Phil, Distance Nerding. Of course, if you want to connect with us on all the social medias, we are in existence on everywhere that exists. Of course, it is on the Instagram, the Facebook. I'm still calling it Twitter, never going to call it X. Twitch, TikTok, Threads, YouTube, Discord, Blue Sky, MySpace, Vine, GeoCities, Friendster, Second Life, AIM, Farmers Only, Christian Mingle, OnlyFans. It's only pictures of Aaron Watson's feet and Mandel's the beard, Jamez's glasses, sitting on the table just judging you for not buying all of the merch, and everything she will do for money, which I guess apparently there's a lot that he will do for money. So ladies and gentlemen, if you would like us to break up with your boyfriend, girlfriend, significant other, pet, schoolyard bully, annoying neighbor, or just tell us how much you enjoy us, hate us, or wish the internet would consume us completely and spit us out at the feet of apparently a fucking monk that can punch a kraken in the fucking face and kill it on the first try. Fucking jealous. You can send us an email at distincnerding@aol.com and we will read it live on air. So ladies and gentlemen, that is it from us. It is now time for the dance party. So
kitty.
Oh, it's a kitty cat.
Oh yeah. He's gonna dance.
He's like, yeah, I'm gonna dance here. So let's go ahead and get this party going. He's like, no, stop.
He's so mad.
Distant Nerding.
I had to let him go.
Oh.
Like, I'm
He doesn't like being on camera. He's camera shy. That's all it is. He loves to dance.
down,
That's
human.
all it
I'm done with you. We'll see everybody tomorrow.